God, look at that perfect hair right off a head flip. Right off a total head flip. Look. Guys, GRC and Sam Stoll. Our favorite time of the day, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Sam, what is up? How are you doing? How is everybody in the comments? Let's say hello. How are you doing, brother? I know you had an awesome morning. It sounded like you had a very stimulating morning with some phone calls. I hope that turns out well for you.
Yeah, insurance agents are the scum of this earth. United insurance agents in the United States, insurance companies more so, are the scum of the earth. And they will do anything to not help you. And they will make sure that you do not get your service, but just enough time before you actually have to break someone's neck. It's yes. Right when you get to that point, then your car will be back in your driveway. And you're like, my last week and a half has been miserable because I can't drive. Therefore, my whole thinking space has to be different because I can't be doing what I normally do. So
you can't leave your house, can't go to the gym.
I haven't been going to the gym. But I've just been working throughout the whole day, so it's kind of been beneficial. But it is nice to take a couple of days off the gym, not gonna lie. But the biggest scam there is car insurance. Anyone who owns a car insurance company, fuck you. Literally, you're sick that you would ever want to do that for a living.
And there's some interesting stuff that's coming out that's going to change the auto industry in terms of insurance over the next decade drastically. Like the biggest change in auto insurance that's happened in a long, long time. So Geico, State Farm, all these companies have been trying to do this. By the way, we have some stuff to cover. I'll just give a preview here. Have you ever thought about, you have access to all this capital and your credit cards? What if you used your credit cards to buy crypto and earn a higher interest rate than you would be paying? We're going to cover the details of how somebody could go about doing this. I might actually test this so I can show you the example. Pulse chain versus Pulse X. We have some new numbers to take a look at.
Also want to talk about single stake liquidity versus providing liquidity. Again, got to cover that again.
That's just so valuable stuff, and there's always new things coming out around that realm.
Got to keep covering it.
Super. So in the auto industry, you have these companies, and they'll be like, "Hey, you want a discount? Plug this piece of thing in there, which is going to track all your movements, right? And then you can get a 2% discount on your fee, right?" Well, Tesla has the actual, I think it's called telematics, or it's basically the speed at which you're traveling, the G-force, the turning, the angle of the steering wheel, the degree at which the pedals are pressed and not pressed, all of that data around the telematics of the vehicle and the slope of the road, all that stuff. And they have a insurance that is launched, I think it's going to be about 7 states pretty soon for Tesla insurance. Now, think about how insurance currently works. People who are good drivers pay a higher rate to subsidize the shitty drivers, right? So this new model.
I never even thought about it like that, but that's great.
Yeah, like so somebody who never gets into an accident, who's really, really good, they barely even drive or anything, they pay a higher rate because they're subsidizing the shitty drivers who don't know how to do anything. This model switches that on its head. So you pay for the quality of your actual driving. And so in my app for Tesla, I get 5 different factors.
Oh, is this affiliated with Tesla?
This is Tesla insurance.
Shit, they have insurance? I didn't even know that. I didn't know Tesla was an insurance company.
Yeah, no, most people have no idea. Yes.
That's incredible.
So check this out. This is
awesome. Alpha, guys. Alpha alert.
Alpha, right there.
Yeah.
So there's something they call it a safety score. So this is going to change shit for it's called a safety score. So I have a 95 safety score. And instead of how traditional insurance is done, where you take an actuary, right? That's just somebody who's basically running numbers like a statistician or like a mathematician. And they look at your age, right? You're male, you live in this state, are you single or married? What type of job you have? They take all these demographic factors or psychographic factors to try to just come up with a rate that is higher than what they believe you're going to cost them so that they can make money. But what if it has nothing to do nothing to do with your actual driving behavior. Now, what if companies right? It doesn't. I get a lower rate.
I was just talking to everyone about this. I said, guys, we have to stop. This is what my point was. We have to stop saying this is okay the way it is. Let's just keep doing it like this. And I'm like, why does everyone fucking say that insurance is shit? I don't want it to be shit anymore. But who else is going to do it? Everyone's like, there's just other magical people that do stuff. Like,
we have to do it.
The magical people that get shit done for you. It's like, no, get rich enough to fucking make an insurance company. That's cool. That's what Elon just did. But maybe I don't have to do that in particular. I don't have the skill set or the whatever. But Elon said I do. There's guys like that.
But you can also be the person who transitions people into getting onto crypto and brings a network of people. Like, everybody's got their own fucking thing to do. This is going to, so Tesla's already bankrupting like the other OEMs that are producing cars, right? They're already going after Exxon and Shell, right? In terms of energy production with battery packs. They're doing stationary battery packs that go through, get rid of peaker plants. Like, we can get into more detail on that if anybody's interested. And now they're going after the insurance industry. This stuff is amazing. Tangent is amazing as well. And he is here to share some awesome.
You guys had no idea this was turning into a party, and it's turning into a sick party. You guys have no idea how sick this fucking party that I'm about to throw is. And it's happening right now.
Tangent, what's up?
Yeah, I heard there was a party. Sorry, I've got music blasting me. I
think there's a couple guys that might be coming by to say hello. I wanted this to be a Sunday fun day. Get to know some new people, talk around, let Sam really just dig in some questions like he always does, but like with some new people, new heads, new, more variable questions. Right now,
I just realized the flex is not going to work with a long stream show. I'm going to have to read this thing out.
A screenshot like this.
when you do it, you bring your arm forward slightly, so it looks even bigger.
Dude, that was epic.
It is funny because if you look at my arm like this,
it's like you're gonna break. It's like you're gonna break the camera.
I look like a normal ass person with my arm, just like a normal ass arm, right? Like not big or skinny. And then
it just like rotates out.
I'm really glad that Tangent's on here because I had a thought experiment that I wanted to run through. So
yeah, let's do it.
That's Tangent. He likes that shit.
No, and I appreciate that because we were doing that going back and forth last time, and I appreciate the insight. So since like I was a kid, I've always kind of like wanted to create my own country and then my own currency. Right? Like there's pictures of me online like holding up a fake like Sam bill, right, from 10 plus years ago. So this is not like a new idea because of crypto. This is like, oh, this could be the solution to me actually creating my own currency. So then it's like, okay, cool, awesome. I like that idea. Now, how do you solve a problem, right? So Hex is one way to get, like a store of value in a sense. But what if we created a crypto that was similar structure as the incentives behind a house? So where you get some type of cash flow every single month, but also there's long-term appreciation, and set it up so that you get like maybe a stable coin like every single month, like you would on a house, right? I have a rental house, so I get paid every single month. But then also over time that goes up. And if there's a way to like maybe the staking of it or something where people, I just was thinking about it last night and this morning, so I haven't gone through and like journaled how I could structure something like this, but I want to hear your thoughts on like what types of cryptos could you create that would solve problems, and then also what do you think of a house structured type of a crypto?
Well, I guess you could argue that Hex already does sort of perform that. If you accept that houses can go up and down in price, so that the capital appreciation is variable to do with the housing market, and that would be analogous to Hex going up and down in price in terms of the price of Hex, like the asset price, and then the interest on the stakes would be like your rental income. So Hex maybe almost is like that you could almost look at Hex in that structure, like in that analogy. But if you wanted to have, like, I guess maybe what you're saying is like is something that's slower and more stable in its growth rather than these huge volatility and that sort of thing.
Because people don't want to sell, right, their crypto, right? You don't want to sell something that's going to go up in value. So what if there was something, maybe it was a longer stake, and so they still get some, like a 5% every month of their total stake that comes in some way. I've got to like iron it out mentally on paper to get a better idea of like how to do it.
I do think that the ability to access the interest before the end of the stake, either at any time that you want or at fixed intervals, would actually be a pretty cool variation on Hex.
Right? Because people, like, I think about it as like, if somebody's, right, well, you buy rental property, that's been around for 100 plus, 2,000 years, right? Way before it is at the state it's at now. If I owned a bunch of land, I would allow you to farm on my land for a fee of some sort, right? And so,
and typically, historically, the wealthiest people was through land, like landowners were and so that's why Saylor has that analogy that Bitcoin is like digital land. It's like buying a block of real estate in Manhattan. It's like I guess the reason he draws that parallel is because landowners used to get rich as F.
So not even a long time ago. Like not even a long time ago.
And to an extent, you know how there used to be that saying, only God can make more land, which is ended up not being quite true because of reclaimed land where they were like creating islands in Dubai. What's that? Bang. Does that say bang? Dude, that's sick. We do not have that drink over here.
Yeah,
otherwise I would drink that
sponsored by Bang, guys.
just for the name. Sponsored by Bang.
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 So what were you mentioning, Tangent, about the
so basically, like, people used to say, like, you can't make more land, only God can make land. But ultimately, with reclaimed land, which we even have here in Perth, they reclaimed land and created a new like entertainment area south of the city, basically into the river. And so, but excluding reclaimed land, because obviously there's practical limitations, engineering limitations, and cost prohibitiveness of doing that to a huge extent. Then that basically land used to have that level of scarcity that is now being represented in the digital space with cryptocurrencies, where we have fixed monetary policy and enforced scarcity by computer code rather than by planet Earth's, like, Mother Nature limitations.
It's so interesting, in general, like cut all the money out and everything like that we have, or all that stuff. What a fucking concept. And then you realize it is just as real as anything. It's just as real as anything because
it's always a shared illusion. Like, it's always a shared reality.
Exactly. But you learn that in crypto, dude. Like, you don't learn that if you're not in crypto. Finance dudes literally have like fairy tales of like a gold reserve with just all the bars in them, and people come in and they grab one and they go to Christmas time. It's like, no, you have a ticket with a number on it, bro, and they're just telling you this is what this is, and we're over here like, dude, no, you're wrong.
Very interesting point in what is accepted common knowledge, almost when people say like common sense understanding of something within the crypto space is next to unknown outside of the crypto space in terms of like financial education.
Why though?
What are some of those things? Because we still have like we're like holding, right? Go ahead.
So people typically don't start to take notice to these things until it has impacted them significantly. So when people who had their own small businesses, when those small businesses get crushed for whatever reason, I'm not just talking about recently with things that have gone on in the last couple of years. When things go wrong, people are like, my business was successful. There was nothing wrong with it, and it failed. And then they start to ask questions like, what's going on? Why did this happen? And then they'll dig deeper. Whereas people that are on wages typically don't go exploring for answers if it all seems like everything's running fine. And obviously with crypto, you can't avoid going down the rabbit hole because every other crypto person is like, it becomes a pumpermental to talk about how flawed the legacy financial system is. So there's lots of people within crypto who are preaching it in an attempt to pump their bags.
Yes.
Real quick, guys, stay right on that note. God damn, I'm already feeling dopaminergic rush in this conversation, and that's what I look for on every episode. I'm looking for the rush, baby. Yeah. All right, let me talk to the chat real quick, guys. All right, let's go. First of all, I want to do a big shout out here. This is a big shout out. This dude went through my videos and timestamped them, dude.
Whoa.
Bob.
Whoa.
And I
Whoa.
never asked him
Whoa.
to or ever mentioned
That's
it.
sick.
And he
Dude,
started
that's
off
sick.
and he started off by throwing shade on me on Twitter. And I was like, dude, I still like you. And then he like showed up on my show the next day.
Converted. Dude,
I just whipped his ass. And thank you.
epic.
No, I'm kidding, dude. Thank you so much, dude. You are the fucking man. I don't know who
That's
you
awesome.
are. I would like to talk to you in person, just on a camera somewhere, in Telegram or something. If you ever want to chat, I would love to.
What can people submit the timestamps like anonymously or something?
No, he just commented. That's
oh.
anonymous. He just has an anonymous thing. Like I could see his picture there, but I don't think that's him, to be honest. If I was guessing, the guy with the mullet and the American flag in the side is not Bob the guy.
I don't know.
Bob, can you confirm or deny that you are not the human in that picture? I'd like to know. All right. Now I still got to. That was the big shout. That was a huge shout out. First of all,
All right, I'm going on a shill fest to try and get you some likes on this video.
Yeah, guys, chill it out. Hey, real quick,
hard.
guys, while we're chilling, chill it out, dude. FUNDINGGYM's coming on. KORYPTOSTYLIST might be coming on. We're having a fucking party. It's not ifs, ands, or buts. It's party time.
It is. It's a Sunday fun day. It's a Sunday
exactly.
fun day.
It's the Lord's Day, guys. I think about the Lord when I'm doing this shit. Okay.
Yo, can I tell you guys? I went on a date this morning. Normally, I'm asleep in the morning. That's not my time of the day. But I was like, all right, I'm going to go on this date. I didn't, because I'd never met, like, as in this chick and I have not spent a lot of time together. I don't want to be like, yeah, I might be partying so hard the night before that I might just not make that date. We need to make it in the afternoon. I was like, I'm going to keep shit chill, like look like a normal person for a bit at least. Anyway, we talked about crypto for a bit, and she said she's convinced that the government will at some point be able to shut it down. And I'm like, no, hard no. And I tried my best to convince her. She was not convinced. I gave her, my biggest ones were game theory. So I said the same game theory that exists between individuals and companies also exists between nation states. And that's part of what will prevent countries from being able to like ban crypto out of existence. So a country can ban itself from crypto, but it cannot ban crypto. And she was like, yeah, what about if there's like a collusion of, because she's a bit of a conspiracy theorist. So she's like, all these countries technically, in her opinion, work together, even though publicly they have disputes and conflict and disagree. She thinks that's all forward-facing BS, and that behind the scenes, all these countries actually collude, like all these leaders and things collude together, like the whole cabal thing. So, and my other point was... Well,
let's run down that. Remember that other point, but let's run down that, because I think that she's got a point. I think that there's a lot of people, especially here in the United States, probably over in Australia, like we see a lot of scum in government, right? Like we see a lot of the same garbage coming out of these people's mouths when they open their mouths, right?
Agreed.
And nothing that works for the people. They're just there to help themselves and help their cronies. Like, and that's the underlying essence of like a lot of what seems to be coming out right now, right? And it's getting exposed. So in that scenario, right, something like the G7, right? You've got these 7 countries that are literally collaborating together. Do you not think that you and me talking and GRC and I talking, that inadvertently I pick up things from you and GRC and vice versa? And that's what's happening with these 7 countries. So hypothetically, in her example, she's like, hey, bro, all 7 of these countries collaborate together and they say no more crypto. So run down that rabbit hole. Like what happened?
Yeah.
If
America and all its allies all tried to like ban it at once, it would be fairly damaging. I will admit that.
But it's not going to kill it, I don't think.
It's not going to end it. It could slow it down. It could even make it go backwards and do like take us maybe even years in a step back in price performance and in adoption and shit like that. But I think ultimately they can only slow it down. They can't kill it. And her other point, which I thought was also quite good, she said, a bit like the internet, initially people thought it was like, oh, we've got this like free way to communicate, but then they've come in with ways that they have been able to like censor and take control. And my rebuttal to that was, crypto is more decentralized in both infrastructure and consensus. Like, so the decentralization is better. However, I will admit that it does rely on the internet and power to operate. So if they can control the internet heavily, like if they started doing like great firewall shit, then that could also be a problem. So I admitted to her, I said, look, these things are not, I'm not just brushing them off like, oh yeah, easy is no problem at all. They would be detrimental, but I believe that it would not be an existential threat to cryptocurrency.
And the probability, like if you look at future futures in a sense, like the inevitability of this outcome versus this outcome versus this outcome, and you look at it from a probabilistic standpoint, the probability of that happening is just, it's very, very, very trivial, very, very small. Like,
agreed.
It's possible, but it's very, very small.
Guys, tell somebody, tweet RH and say Jim Rat's not getting a haircut or shaving until Poleskin comes out, and it's starting to become a problem. It was not an issue when I made this bet, and now it's becoming an issue in my life. You know, people are like,
how long ago
I'm like carded like a teenager.
I was going to comment that your hair was looking quite long, like as in. So when did you start this bet?
I usually tie it back.
Oh,
so I'm usually like this. I'm usually like that, but I can't find my little fucking string. So it's...
the other thing that I think protects us a little bit is adoption rate. The more adopted a cryptocurrency is, the more a government has to be cautious that by like banning it, you're actually damaging your citizens' wealth. Like, so.
Do you think that anybody in government actually gives a fuck about that?
You're right. I agree with you that they probably don't. Like, if that's the point that you're making. However,
freak out though.
If it's in retirement accounts, it could have some weight. If say in 10 years time or 15 years from now, if they knew that by banning crypto and just crushing it, they were going to actually be damaging a lot of retirement accounts because they've got a lot of crypto in managed super funds, then they might consider that, because that becomes detrimental to the state, right? They have to fund anyone that can't fund their own retirement. I don't know. It's probably a minor point. You probably are right that like if they see it as a threat to their corruption model, then they won't hesitate to damage citizens' wealth, even if it's retirement wealth, to stop that from happening. So, yeah.
There's some really interesting points that you bring up. I think because the internet today is just censorship, right? You're like, no, it's not. We're doing this, right? Because if you look at the progression of say 20, 30 years ago, right? 30 years ago, we had, 5 white dudes who controlled 97% of the news organizations globally, at least in westernized countries. And they got to dictate what was being said. So in the sense, like, censorship has come down. Yes, we don't agree. We think censorship is really, really high. But if you look 30 years ago, it's way, 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 way less, right? But then I think that there's a small probability that this continues to get worse in terms of these big corporations. And what happens when that happens is we shift to the dark web, right? And that's actually a place where there's way more freedom.
Sam nailed it. I think that's a better point, is the pushing it underground. If you start to ban shit, it still exists, that you create it.
But again, I think you guys are thinking that the governments are too sophisticated. Like I feel like they're stooges and they're just barely, like this guy said, he literally just nailed it. Well, anyway, he's basically saying they can barely hold shit together anyway. They're just trying to put out fires and not die. They're just government puppies. They're just like, what do we do? I hope this is right. And then there's rich dudes. There's just a bunch of rich dudes that with the pharmaceutical companies, they call the shots, dude. Like, we can say whatever we want, but they call the shots.
I've got a crazy I've got a
$300
crazy
billion in
example
secured debt.
of how dumb their shit is. Sorry, I'm trying to not swear on other people's
Let's
streams.
try not to say the pharmaceutical words, though. I forgot about. Let's not say any specifics.
Oh yeah. No. This doesn't involve. Oh, actually, lucky you warned me. It actually does. So one of my friends, he wasn't able to work because he was forced to be at home for a period of time. But we've got a thing here where if that happens to you and you can show that you lost income because of that, you can go to like our version of unemployment benefit, and they'll pay you maybe not your full wage, but like some payment to try and help you because of your lost income, right? So he went to go and do that, and while he was there, they were like, "Yo, on our records, you went to Indonesia and never came back." So he went to Bali, and then when he came back, they obviously didn't record that he had re-entered the country. So on their records, he had left and gone to Indonesia and never came back to Australia. And he was like, yeah, I'm here. I'm like in my house in Australia. Like I'm here. Like I'm right here.
But this is like, we don't want the government tracking our information.
But it was from like 2019 or something. It was like ages ago. And I'm like, you've paid taxes since then. And he's like, yep. So it's like, this is how disconnected government agencies can be in terms of like left arm not talking to the right arm, just no idea what's going on. Like one agency thinks that he fled and never came back, and the other one's still getting like other stuff that shows that he's here. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's like, that's crazy. But like at the same time, like the most rich dude in the US was like raping little girls for like ever. And like everyone knew.
Fuck.
And like everyone knew, and literally that was on the news for like 2 weeks.
Have you seen the epic memes? There's like one that's like, it's like,
oh, I forgot. That's not that's a bad subject to move into.
Oh yeah. It was like Jeff.
I forgot
Jeff
that we're
E,
on
Jeff
E.
YouTube. It was like Jeff E. arrest count, a formal arrest counter, official arrest counter, and it's just like 0000. Like, and then there's another one where it's a guy, he's slipping a note to someone, and it says on the top of the meme, it says, "This is all you need to know." And he opens the note, and inside the note it says, "Not a single person has gone to jail for doing what you just said on an island. That like not a single person has gone to jail for that." And he's like, it's like, that's all you need to know about how corrupt the world is.
Hold on, guys. I want to switch.
Yeah.
Subject. We could go down this road for free.
Okay, so I got an idea. I got a topic here. So, so property, right? We were talking about property, but you can take equity out of the property. So you can take cash out of property
if you have income.
If you're able to pay the bill, right? But even if you're not able to pay the bill, but you have to be able to access that. So this is good. We should talk more about this, right? Okay, so my duplex here. I've got equity in this property. I owe this much, but this is how much I have this worth, right? I can go in and I can access a big chunk of this. I can take that and set up hex stakes in the future that will pay off my loan. The arbitrage here is that you borrow money at 5% and you make 10, 12, 15, 18, depending on 30%, depending on how you structure it, right? So you get to borrow other people's money to buy assets that will pay off that loan for you. So there's another way to go about doing this. I can run in the numbers. I ran the numbers for myself. Like I did a 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year stake all together. So you take 100 grand, you set aside 1 year's worth of payments, so 100 grand minus 1 year's worth of payments.
So let's see what Tangent thinks about this. Completely no, I'm gonna let Sam go for one more second, but I already gave him my stance on this. So I want you to just say, as an investor, as someone who's been doing this for as long time, as someone who's probably broke at some point, what would you assume that this advice would lead to, or do you think
I've got something to drop for this? But did you say let Sam finish?
Yeah, so let him finish.
Yeah.
So in this example, you can go through and get your loans paid off, assuming that no price appreciation. If there's price appreciation, you not only pay your loans off, but you also make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars depending upon how much price appreciation, even if it just gets back to 50 cents a share. So go ahead. I want to hear what your thoughts are. And then there's another creative way to actually access capital for free to buy crypto with.
So I'm pretty sure what I'm about to say is very closely aligned to what you said, but possibly slightly more epic, like as in just because of this added component of it. So this is not my original thought. I got this off Michael Saylor. He said, the ultra wealthy have always used this strategy that has been available to them and not to others. What you do if you're ultra wealthy, you go and buy primo assets that you are very confident that will go up in value. Manhattan real estate, rare art, classic cars, whatever it is, as long as you are convinced that that asset is going to go up or is going to perform and outperform significantly over inflation and beyond. And then you take a loan against that asset, because loans incur no tax. If you make income, you pay income tax. If you make capital gains by selling an asset at a profit, you pay capital gains tax. When you take a loan, you pay no tax. So you loan against these assets, you spend that money to live your lifestyle, but by the time you spend all the money, and possibly even towards the end of your life, those assets have gone up so much that it completely covers the amount of money you've spent and then some. You hand the asset over without ever selling the assets. You never incur capital gains tax. You hand the asset over to your children, your children's children, your grandchildren. So it stays in the family, and you can live on you can spend as much money as you want and provide. So, but critically, you have to choose assets carefully, ones that they know will go up. So Manhattan real estate is a good example. His claim is that now Bitcoin is that asset. And then, so we could argue that like Hex is the same or better or whatever, however you want to say it. But the crazy parts about it is no tax, and the no tax thing is just absolutely crazy. All you need is the asset to go up over time, like in the long duration, so that you never get liquidated, and that it covers the cost of the amount of money that so you can just keep refinancing as the thing goes up and up and up and up in value. Plus the debt that you take. So say, because you're borrowing dollars, the dollars go down in value. They erode with inflation. So your debt is actually your debt is becoming smaller in real terms. But I guess that's factored in that's part of why the asset is going up. So like,
but that's a good point. So people have heard of this, of what you're talking about, right? Because debt's not taxed, right? You buy shit that goes up in value, you just take loans against that. So if you have $1 million asset and you borrow $300,000, you have $300,000 to live on or buy additional assets, and you just have a $300,000 income, and you don't pay any taxes. But if you go earn $300,000, the government's going to take 50% of that shit, or near, that. Yep. So very, very good point, because when you have debt denominated in shitty currency that's going to go down, right, then that means I can use something that's more valuable in the future to pay that off even faster.
Yeah, but that means you're going into a recession.
Well, no, the dollar, like if you look at the last 90
we're
years,
going into a recession.
You need to be confident of, like, and obviously, like, liquid loans leverages this strategy of loaning against the asset rather than selling it to fund your lifestyle.
Yeah, liquid loans doesn't exist, but there are other things that.
So once liquid loans or the equivalent forked projects on other networks. And so in the same way that with those sorts of loaning projects, you have to be careful that your collateralization ratio doesn't get to a point where it becomes a problem. It would be the same for the real world example that these ultra wealthy people have been doing for generations. You would have to make absolutely sure that you're only loan. But if you own like an entire city block of Manhattan real estate, the amount of money you're borrowing to go and buy Lambos and stay in fancy hotels is just going to be like such a tiny fraction of what the asset is worth, and it's fairly recession proof as well.
So check this out. And Crypto Sloth, I think, was or maybe it was Orca who mentioned Hedron, because I factored Hedron into this. So $100,000 equity, right? 5% mortgage over 30 years. That means my principal and interest payment for this is going to be about $540. A reserve for 12 months is $6,044, right? Basically $6,500. That gives me a delta of $93,500 that I can put into a cryptocurrency. Because if you were like, okay, well, if I buy Pulse and I put into liquid loans, I have to be concerned about the volatility, right? Of what's going to happen with that to a certain degree. Hex is already down 80%. Is it going to go down another 80%? Possibly, but really, in my opinion, very unlikely future event. So
wait. You said, what was that last sentence you said?
And Wix as well.
You said for what going down 80%?
So this way you don't have to be concerned about that. So if I took say 100 grand, yeah, because you don't like I'll run through the numbers because I'm betting on the differential in the interest rates, 5% versus 13% if you do like a 1 year stake. So like that's where I'm like, okay,
he's taking that 8% profit pretty much.
So because even if the numbers like here, let me run through this real quick. Okay,
is this against an actual house? Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I could float this note myself if I needed to. But I don't want to pay that at all. So I grab my $6,500 off of the money the bank gives me. I take that, set it up in a separate bank account. That bank account setup is auto draft, $540 every month. Just goes right back into paying off that 100 grand, right? So yep. I don't have to do anything other than set up to get the HELOC, get the home equity out of my house, set up the bank account and auto draft, set up the bank account, and then set up the auto draft. And then I'm good. I don't have to do anything on that front. Now I take the rest of the money, the 93, I split it up into 3, and you could do this in a bazillion different ways. I just split it up equally, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year stakes. In this case here, it's at the equivalent price of when I did this yesterday, it was 14.8, right? Cents. So you get about 210,000 hex at the end of 1 year. You have 25,000 additional. So that gives you a US equivalent. This is a key assumption here, because whenever you do these model type things, you need to like be very cautious or curious about what am I creating as an assumption that could fuck me if I don't know what those assumptions are.
Yes, yeah.
I think FUNDINGGYM could add a lot to this conversation.
That interest rate is quite conservative, right?
Like 5%. Yes, it is. Okay, so that's another point. I want to make sure that I'm concerned. I don't want to do I don't want to say I can get 4% and it's actually
true.
So I put 5%, and then this here, the end of year 1, this is the equivalent $35,000 of money if HEX does not change in price from 14.8% or 14 cents, right? Basically 15 cents, right? About 15 cents. If HEX over the next 12 months, we have continued this bear market, right? They don't change at all. But even if, let's go over here, even if HEX comes down to 8 cents, right? I'm left with $18,000. Okay. Then at the end of year 2, so with this $18,000, what do? You take another $6,500, you fill up your bank account again, you take your $12,000 that's left, and you stick that at the end for year number 4. If you wanted to do it this way. Now the end of year 2. So do you believe personally that there's a high probability that HEX is going to be higher than 15 cents in 24 months? I believe it will. I think it will be, right? Even if it
that's a long enough duration that you would expect it to go up.
Right, because we've already been in a bear market for 7-10 months or however long it's been. It's 54 cents down, right? So if it just goes back to 54 cents at the end of year 2, that's 146 grand. And that doesn't even include year 3. If year 3,
I'm surprised that the number of B shares is only increases by that much for a whole extra year.
It's so trivial.
No. You mean that it doesn't go up much because it's 365 days?
I would have thought that the gap in the amount of B shares that you get for staking that. Oh wait, are you staking a third of it for 1 year, a third of it for 2 years, and a third of it for 3 years?
Yeah, that's what you're looking at.
So shouldn't because you know how like longer pays better is bigger than bigger pays better.
You're thinking it's 15 years divided. So 15. What is a 15?
Oh,
You know what I mean? So think about it, because each one, that's not 1,000 days. That's only 365 days. So really, the rate doesn't start compounding until you're at like 3,000, 2,500 plus days. That's when the rate.
So I guess it is like 20% higher, isn't it? There from okay. Or 30%.
This
probably never staked that short. I never staked that short.
And if Hexa goes to $3, you make $1 million in the last year.
But remember, that's just what was staked. That was just what was staked in year 3. I still have the remainder from year 1 that I restaked to year 4, right? And
so you roll it as well, like roll the first one when it ends. You're just taking the interest and then re-roll.
Yeah,
read that.
Okay.
Damn.
What does it say?
Just let Orca. Orca says nothing makes me stroke my beard more ominously than when people start getting comfortable about the bear market coming to an end. That I 100% agree with. Now, this is what I'm saying, guys. Sam, let's go back for 1 second.
Okay.
No numbers. No numbers. Guys, we're going into a fucking recession. You better protect yourself and not leverage your house. Not specifically. No, I'm saying I'm talking to random normal people, Sam, not you. You're a freaking freak of nature. Okay? Normal people, everyone, we have to be safe. We have to understand that we could be going into some hard times financially, and that's okay. Yeah, Pulse might go moon or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Duh. But everyone needs to protect themselves. When people get excited like this, it usually means that they're ready to get a fucking stake through their heart. Tangent knows that, dude. You know how many people have thought like you're thinking right now, and that's the only thing they talk about for the next 6 years because I got wrecked in 2016. Like they're known as the guy. And I'm just saying, like,
there's a key difference.
I've seen any major dips in Hex before, ever, really, for a significant amount of time. They're quick.
But there's a big difference. Wow. The big difference is we're already down 80%. And normally when you talk about irrational exuberance, right? That's kind of like the term that's used to describe over leveraging yourself, doing dumb shit. Normally, normal folks do that at the top of the market, like at stupid times to do. You're like, oh, all-time high. I'm gonna leverage my house and buy it. That's fucking stupid.
I'm all in. Like the guy who let mortgage his house in the Hex Heist of Stakes documentary. You know that dude, like he put his entire house net wealth into Hex at the top.
Sam doesn't know that, but I'll pull up that video actually and show it. And basically,
oh wow, okay, that's hilarious. I'm literally describing this.
Yeah.
No,
you
so literally,
that actually happened to
everyone was bullish, dude. Everyone was.
Bullish. I was also
fucking bullish.
Everyone was so bullish. And the thing is, I genuinely do believe when an asset makes new all-time highs, that is one of the most bullish things. And we were just continually making all-time highs.
It could have kept going.
You're like, it's a new all-time high. That's still bullish. And now it's bullish again. It's bullish again. And then we just didn't know that the ride was going to end at whatever it did. And then that dude went all in. They got the camera crews around there. And then obviously,
So basically, this dude was like, "I'm putting my whole house on Hex," and everyone was bullish, and everyone was like,
also didn't tell his wife, until after it was done.
But what was this dude's body fat composition? No, I'm not kidding. Like, if you compared him to Sam, who do you think would keep a better book? Who keeps the books better, Sam or that guy? I mean, that dude was literally leveraging his house while the kids were running around. Like, that's silly, obviously. Like, you can't do anything if the kids are running around. Right? Like when there's kids around, you really can't risk anything, right?
Yeah. If you've got dependents,
It's not fair. If you're not a father, fuck everyone.
There's another way to even take advantage of this. And by the way, like leveraging your house to get in at the bottom of a bull market, potentially, like maybe it goes down another 50%. Fan fucking tastic.
This is my mom's worst favorite episode, dude.
And I'm not advocating anybody in the comments.
Dude, this is my mom. I talked about Epstein. She's gonna fucking hate this shit, dude. I was like, he was raping little girls, and everyone knew it. I forgot I said all that shit.
Who is it that's gonna be watching this episode,
my
or you
mom.
mean just in general?
Your mom will watch? Well, hi, Mom. How you doing?
Every once in a while, she gives it a go, you know, like she's like, hopefully I can listen to Scott and he's not too crazy this time. And then it's always like me, like, Epstein's a fucking son of a bitch. The insurance companies are fucked. And then she's just like, turns it off. I know it. I know she's like, I raised a menace.
No, and this is just her POV of your life.
Course,
she doesn't see you in 24 months or 36 months or 6 years of what you've been able to build and accomplish and achieve. She will, and in that point, she's going to change you. She's like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't fucking believe what you were doing.
Hey, she's in the Staker class.
Wait, and also
she's a Staker class member, my mother.
Everyone's definition of their children being successful is different, right? Like, so some people are like, I want my kids to go to uni and get a good career. That's success. Some people are like, I want my kids to have kids so that I can have grandkids. That's success. Like, so like, and obviously no one should ever let someone else's definition of success dictate how they live their life. That's a recipe for discontentment. So,
well, that took me a long time to figure out, just about 27 and a half years. You know what I mean? And I'm 28. So it's been hard. Like, I've always thought, like, if my parents don't think that I'm doing good, then that hurts me. But now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just do whatever I want, right?
I sometimes get envious of people who are much younger than me, who have already in their life have discovered books like Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, Hex, like, and I'm like, whoa, like if I had discovered that back at their age, by my age now, I'd be like,
fucking. But you were just as innovative.
I wouldn't even be human anymore. I would be like a beam of light that just like shoots out economic energy. Like I would have just surpassed, like,
it's literally what I'm doing right now. Like, I have so much energy. Like, I'm like 28 and I just have so much energy. And everyone's like, well, when does this dude sleep? And I'm like, I sleep 8 hours. Like, you know what I mean? But this is all I do.
Do you wake up ready to go? Like,
yes.
You wake up fresh. Yes. You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah, but at night I'm not fresh. So it's like fair, right? Like, I'm not fresh. At 9 o'clock, if Sam was like, let's study up on something, it would be really like, I would need to grab a coffee for sure. Like, I could not just sit there and be like, my body shuts the fuck down after 9, dude. Like,
I've got friends like that. I try to explain crypto stuff to them at night, and they are like, dude, I can't do it.
But at 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning over coffee, I can learn any concept.
And that's where I'm the opposite, where I'm like, give me about an hour and a half to wake up and a double shot, and then maybe we can talk about your BS.
I go to bed excited for the morning.
I'm the crackhead.
Excited for the moment when I wake up.
I'm the crackhead who gets up and we're like, how do you have so much energy? And they're trying to get their coffee. But I'm also the same guy who's like, I'm going to bed at 10, right? So at 9:15, I'm like balls deep in a conversation, like, and they're just like, how are you? What is wrong with this dude? Like, what are you taking? I'm like, nothing. I'm just high on fucking life. Life is exciting.
Have you guys heard that thing that you should set an alarm to go to bed and not to wake up?
You should talk about that, because probably a lot of people have not heard that.
You routine, because an alarm that wakes you up is disrupting your natural sleep cycle. You could be in deep sleep, or you could be in a cycle where you're not actually light enough to be waking up. But by setting an alarm to go to bed, it means that you do construct a routine, but you're waking up naturally each day. So that's the idea. Obviously, you need a period of time where you don't have commitments in the morning so that you can start to get confident that you will wake up in time for stuff and have a knowledge of what your body clock is actually going to do once you start operating like that, which is hard for most people, especially if you've got a regular ass job where you have to be there at a specific time. But do you
I have never set an alarm for fucking anything in my life.
I do neither.
Yeah, I want my whole thing is like, after 9 o'clock, I'm like, this is how my brain works. Right when 9 o'clock clicks over, like right around when the time I would stop doing my stuff, right? 9 o'clock, I know every minute past then, everyone else is wasting time, and I'm going to bed and I'm just ready to rock in the morning. Like, I just know everyone's wasting time. So it's like, to me, every minute past them, I'm like, well, you're screwing up now, and you're just
no.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying if there was a party. If there was a party, though, I would just party. But when there's nothing distracting me and my car's fucking totaled and I can't leave my fucking house, Literally, I'm in Australia up in here. Like, I can't go anywhere. I cannot go anywhere, yo. I'm officially an Aussie. I can't go anywhere.
Oh, that was a good one. That was probably one of the best ones today.
Yeah, so when it comes to just like sleeping and getting your 8 hours, I just feel bad for people that don't. I'm like, you're getting wrecked compared to me. I'm going to dominate you. I'm going to fly by you.
Yo, people don't realize how important sleep is. Mental health, recovery, all your muscle growth, all your bodily functions, like everything is better when you are getting better quality sleep. So I actually am surprised because I sleep amazing, but I'm surprised if I was someone who had any kind of sleep issue, that would be my highest priority to fix that above everything else. Like that would be my highest priority.
Yeah, but you know what sleep issues are. They're just bad lifestyle. Always. Every time.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes.
Come on. God doesn't invent people where he's like, you can't sleep.
Yeah.
You do that.
I find that the resistance that people because I'm not like I am giving you this advice from things that I've worked out. I tell people like, look, I've listened to podcasts and read books from world-class sleep scientists. Here are some things that you can try and the science behind it. And people the responses that I get, it's almost like because they didn't think of it, the idea is no good. And they're like, nah, that wouldn't work for me. I'm like, how do you know? What do you mean that wouldn't work for you? They're like, no, I've got like this sleep disorder thing. And I'm like, don't you want to at least give yourself the best possible shot? Don't you even if you think that these things I've suggested are going to be like minor compared to this disorder that you believe you have, don't you want to like position yourself as best as possible if you've got that issue, rather than being like, no, I've got a sleep disorder, so I might as well just drink a coffee at like 10 p.m.
Correct. Correct. You add on 4 or 5 different little tricks you can do, whether it's reducing your coffee or caffeine after 2 p.m. or maybe you're doing some mindfulness breathing or meditation and 3 or 4 other lifestyle type changes that you can do, and maybe each one of them is 5%, but that's a 25% improvement in your sleep.
Yes.
It's not 100, but it's still a fucking improvement.
Boom. Exactly.
I just replied to your tweet, Tangent, about my hair.
Oh, nice, dude.
I said,
nice.
Richard, help me.
Dude, I think he'll appreciate that.
Tangent. Okay, so
yeah, a little bit of joke to because it's just more fun.
So I wanted to finish on the hex stake thing, but we don't have to necessarily.
Oh yeah.
So the in that example, you even if it comes down to 8% or 8 cents at the end of year 1, it's still stupid because you still have year 2 and 3 that the price goes up a tiny bit, and you have not only made. I can share that screen again. You not have only made all of the money to pay your loan, but you've also got a giant nest egg.
Where's the problem, Sam? Just tell me, in your eyes, we know the numbers add up, Sam. I know the numbers add up. I mean, they do. You can see the percentage points. There's other than transaction fees and stuff, which are minimal enough compared to 8%. You know what I mean? That's a big chunk. So we don't need to look at the numbers. We need to talk about why wouldn't you do this first? Well, then let's talk, because that's where I need to come from, right? Because everyone in my life has always told me this is the worst thing ever. And I'm totally understanding that this is what rich people do to get rich. Come on. It's clear as day. Assets go up, and then all you have to do is leverage them. It's easy as pie. But there's risk associated when you're starting, right? When you're starting that's when you make or break, when you're starting to leverage assets. A lot of these guys are rich as fuck before they ever leverage an asset. But then they just become balls rich. You know what I mean? They go from rich. But if you're going to be risking, why would someone not want to do this? I just want you to answer that.
I think when we look at risk, we got to have a more nuanced conversation around risk. If you think back to when you were a kid and you got to have that conversation with your mother because you broke her fucking favorite dish or whatever it is, right? You broke the window. Now you got to tell your dad. Risk here mentally is one thing. Reality post meaning after that conversation is damn, that really wasn't that bad. And this is how I perceive that. And I'm not saying that anybody else should do this. The risk of this, right, could be a contract risk, a smart contract risk. There could be an exploit in a smart contract risk, right? That Hex just is a scam at some point, and people are able to extract all the value, right? That's a possibility. Whatever degree of probability you think that's going to have in the future, that's a risk. You could have like what we were talking about, where everything has to shift to the dark net, right? That's a possibility. Where like the top 10, 20 countries from an economic standpoint decide to collaborate and push against crypto, right? I don't think it would kill it ever, but that could be suppressive for, you know, more than 3 years, right? But you could always change your strategy if that's your belief system to take care of that. Okay, instead of doing a 1, 2, 3 year, do a 2, 4, 6 year thing, or whatever your prerogative is.
Hey, Bullish, are you bored? You can come on, Bullish, if you want. I know Bullish likes to talk about this stuff too.
Bullish and I talked about this for like an hour yesterday.
Dude, I couldn't even get into their conversation because they were effing each other's dicks so hard in the Telegram. You guys were so fucking into it. You guys were so fucking into it. I just felt like a little kid who like comes in and he's like, "Hey guys," and then I like walk away. I'm like, I'm not smart enough to be over here. No, you know what I mean?
Dude, here's a strategy you can do. Here's one you can do. By the way, you guys have matching glasses. That's cute. Here's a strategy that anybody can do. Anybody can do. And if
my mom bought me some blue lights.
If you go through and you have a credit card, there's something you can do as a cash advance, right? So say you have a cash advance capacity of
starting to sound like Sailor here.
Well, okay, so I'm not advocating anybody do this, but if I might potentially test this with a small amount, see how it works out, right? Because I can always float that myself and just pay for it. Like, this is the best time in our lives to take risk at a younger age than an older age.
Right away.
So 10 G's, right? 10 G's is really not that much money when you think about it in a macro sense, and you put time on that equation. 10,000 is not much.
I would personally do it with one of these loan protocols over a credit card, because credit card interest is extreme.
But here's the thing. How do you get around not paying that interest? That's what I'm telling you right now. So you do cash advance. So you say they're going to charge you a fee to do a cash advance, maybe like 1% or some not pretty nominal fee when it comes to $10,000. So say you pay $300, $400 to get access to $10,000. Simultaneously, as soon as this is done, you have to do two things. You got to do something with the $10,000, and then you have this, as you just mentioned, this stupid interest rate that is higher than it is on Hex, right? So what you do is you transfer this balance to a new credit card where you get 18 months or 24 months interest free. There's tons of those offers here in the United States. I don't know if it's the same case over there.
Oh, and do you just keep rotating through those interest free?
Or well, that's one side. So now we have 24 months interest free, right? We paid $400 up front, but now we have 10 grand that we're going to utilize for something. We basically just have to make minimal payments, 10 grand, maybe you pay $100 a month. So you take 10,000 minus $2,400, so you don't even have to make those payments. You don't have to worry about changing your lifestyle. You don't have to do anything. Put that in a separate account, auto pay, boom, you're done for 24 months. You take the remaining amount and you stake that for 2 years. Now here's the question. Do you think $7,600 into Hex today at 14 cents, do you think Hex is going to be higher than that in 24 months from today? But we already had this discussion.
How much?
$7,400 into Hex for 2 years that you earn. Remember, we're not paying 20%.
How much do you need?
In terms of what?
No, I mean, what was that last sentence you were saying? What does the Hex price need to be?
Oh, the Hex price doesn't need to do anything. The Hex price could stay exactly the same. That's the beautiful part about it.
A lot of Hexicans say that too. That's like a meme in Hexaco. Everyone's like, if Hex never goes anywhere, like, we're chill.
And then
because of the interest.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So you're borrowing money at zero, or close to zero.
Lame ass gains.
But you're correct. But lame ass gains. What do you think? What do you think is a possibility? Do you think Hex could go to $2? Do you think Hex could go to $3?
Hex will be roughly $10 before the next 2 or 3 years. Easy.
Okay. So say if it's
3 years, I think that's fair to say 3 years if you extrapolate the chart at all. Obviously, you can fall out of the parabola and then go poo poo. I don't know.
But here's the thing. Now you just bought $7,400 worth of Hex at 15 cents, and now it's worth $6.
I know, Sam, but how complicated?
It's not complicated in my mind.
No, in your mind it's not, but it's so many steps for so many less steps that could be done.
Like what? You get access to 10 grand today and put it into the market,
That's
right?
the part, right?
You know that's an intelligent move to do, right?
Yeah.
Time in the market is what matters. And this is all you're doing.
There's
is
no
just
chance you're going to
borrowing.
make money on this. I'm scared that other people would take this advice and something bad would happen. I don't know.
So
It's
the
risky
thing,
shit. But he says he can cover it the whole time, so he's fine. But guys, please, if you have children, get out of my freaking. Don't do that.
Don't do what we're talking about.
Don't do that stuff, please. Please, if you have children, please don't do any of that.
If you want to talk about this in more depth and you don't have any children and you think it's an interesting idea, hit me up on Twitter.
Yes, no, seriously, I would love. This is legit shit. Like, this is actually what rich people do to get rich. So it's not like anyone here is surprised that we're talking about this. But I also want to be super clear that I'm not a professional. I'm just like,
I'm not advocating.
It's good that you're thinking this through, particularly the fact that you're identifying potential risks, right? You're looking at risk and also not just like the risk assessment of like the likelihood and the consequence of each of these possibilities. I think the most solid part of your pitch is the HEX is already down 80%. So for a quality crypto, statistically, if minus black swan events, swans on swans on swans, black swan group orgies, then you would expect.
What is a black swan event?
A black swan event, like, so the term actually comes from Europeans had only ever seen white swans. So in all the books that they were writing about like flora and fauna, they had written that a swan is white in color. And then they came to Australia, like Britain colonized Australia or whatever, and they saw a black swan. And so it was an unexpected event that was completely outside what they had assumed was the breadth of the situation. Like, as in, they had not. And so it's obviously an example that didn't cause too much chaos, but particularly not financially, but it is now used as a common term for like something that was completely not predicted by anyone, completely unexpected by literally everyone. So,
like
so
COVID-19.
I mean, it's still, 2008 financial crisis, they still call that like a black swan event, even though there were some people that were yelling from the rooftops, yo, this is a problem.
Yeah, but they can't stop it.
Maybe we could refine the definition these days to mean not like no awareness by the vast majority of people. Yeah, so like the majority of people are not aware from it. There might be a small minority of people who are aware of that risk.
Oh, fuck me, dude.
Dude,
that was as loud and as clear as you could say that word. No, but I said
but maybe luckily
too. I'm like,
so excluding black swans, I think it's reasonable to assume that a crypto, if you're picking a quality cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Hex, that it's going to go up over that duration. For me personally, because I'm quite risk adverse, that probably surprises a lot of people since I'm balls deep in crypto, but I am reasonably risk adverse just by nature. I would probably, how you've taken out of the original loan, you've taken the amount of money that would cover the principal and interest for the first 1 year. I would probably do it for the first 2 or maybe even 3 years. So then I don't have to stress about anything going pear-shaped or the price being lower than what I need it to be for like an extended duration.
So you could do exactly that by taking that same example. So say instead of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yep.
Say so it just means 3, 6, 9.
So each of those installments would be slightly less amount of HEX that you're buying, but you've got more time for things to turn around if things go south. And also, because of the asymmetric upside potential. So like your downside risk in crypto typically is a lot lower than your upside potential. So if the strategy works, you're not going to be crying about that extra 12 grand or 13 grand that you didn't have invested in HEX, because by the time you get to year 3, it's going to be like on the order of a mil. So if it's 800K rather than a mil, or if it's 900K instead of a mil, you're not going to be crying.
So avoiding taxes is one of the major parts of this, correct?
Well, no. What asymmetric returns is like one of the things you want to take advantage of. Like there's Nassim Taleb, who wrote the book called The Black Swan, and he also has.
Oh, you knew
book,
about that shit?
Yes. So
Is
he
that like
also
is
has.
that a term like for everything, not just crypto?
Think of it
Yeah.
as if some random fucker just literally ran over your car and totaled your car. That would be a black swan
Fuck
event.
that guy. That dude.
Right?
look,
Right?
Dude, I'm gonna fucking
it is
smack that dude in the face when I see him. I'm so pissed at that guy for running over my car, dude. And I promise you, dude, I'm gonna figure out how to sue someone and learn about this just to freaking hurt your feelings. I'm pissed off, dude, because I can't drive to the gym, dude.
I should have got him started on this tangent.
Guys,
So-
let me talk to the chat for 1 second. Hold that thought and write it down, and I'm going to literally just run through this for 1 second. Guys, first of all, I want to say if you could please subscribe, please hit the like. I've been going fucking hard as balls. for
hard,
25
man,
fucking
hard.
days straight, dude. Like you guys have
Hard,
no
so
fucking
hard.
clue, dude. And it's been fun. It's been the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. Literally, the most fun.
Dude, I enjoy being on your streams more than I enjoy being on my own damn streams.
Dude,
Yes,
flip that
yes.
right there. You heard it here first, guys. GRC stream is the realest stream in crypto.
You
It's
can
the
clip
realest
that.
stream in crypto right here. Oh, guys, we have a special guest. I want everyone. This is the first time I've ever met this person, and I have a big crush on her. So here we go. Boom.
Hello.
Liz, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Yo.
well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Hello. Hey,
You
well,
met
Hello.
look at by the way, hi, nice to meet you, Sam.
Hi,
Look at
Sam.
you have a beautiful background, and I just have a blank wall. Crypto GRC, you've got like this thing going on, and then you have a digital one, and she's like, I'm actually gonna make a real beautiful background. Like,
It's class.
Yeah, then you
Sam.
don't have to
It's a
mess around
class
with green
thing,
screens.
Sam. It's just class. You can't buy it. You can't. It's no. I'm just kidding.
I've got a blue screen. If I move my head fast enough, sometimes you'll see the blue.
Yep.
I've got a blue screen.
I like
know you
it.
can do
I like it though. It looks good.
Sam, you know you
Thanks.
can paint that wall. You can just paint that wall green, and then that's.
That's
Seriously, Sam, if you just paint that back wall right there, just like green, you're done.
yeah, no, that wouldn't solve the problem.
A lot of people do that. But like if you moved your desk back. But anyway, crypto
a very
stylist,
cool
how are
looking
you doing
cactus.
today?
That's
Sorry?
really, is it cacti? Is
I
cacti
wanna
the
hear
singular?
from
I'm doing well, thank you. It's late afternoon here. What time is it there? You guys
It
are
is,
all in the States?
Just 10 minutes past noon.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
10 minutes past midnight, so exactly 12 hours apart.
Oh, you're in Asia.
He's in
Australia. Close. Yeah,
Australia.
same time
Okay.
zone as I'm same time zone as Singapore, I think, or Hong Kong. It's one of the two.
Oh, okay. And then
Right.
Sam.
Yeah.
Plus eight.
Okay, Sam. I know some people don't like to say where they are, but if you do, where are you from?
I'm in my office. No, I'm in Florida.
You're
I'm in the same time zone as GRC. We're just
Oh god, my OPSEC's gonna get ripped apart, guys. I got smart people that watch this shit. They're gonna hate me. I can't tell people where I live anymore. They're coming at me. They're like, Scott, you have to understand. You're gonna get robbed. I'm like, yes, sir. No, but I'm in the East Coast. I'm in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and Tangent is 12 hours across. I always watch his podcast his YouTube live when I wake up. Like I wake up really, really early. And then I started inviting him like months and months ago, spamming his shit. He just ignored me all the time. And then when he came on here, now he thinks this is the best his most entertaining podcast he is on or whatever.
Okay, well, I'll check out your podcast for sure. So wait, Sam, are you and Tangent guests on this show or one of you the co-host?
So Sam's a co-host. He leaves after usually an hour and a half, and I stay on for like 3 hours. So basically, I go on with Sam, and we do like a deep dive on something, like boom, like as hard as we can. Like we rip a subject apart. Like yesterday, it was internet money. I just wanted to know what it was, right? And I had no idea, not a clue. And we got the dude on here, and Sam asked all the right questions, and I just kind of flowed everyone through. But that's usually what I'm doing on this show is really breaking one thing down in the first hour and a half with Sam, because that's what he's really good at. He's really good at asking. He can ask people questions and just open things up where people are very receptive and have really good answers. So that's kind of what I've been doing, but I've only been doing it for like 30 days. So I'm kind of getting used to it. It's kind of just as I go.
Yeah, no, it's learning every time. You know, it's just learning every time. Sam, what is your background? Where did you? Are you in finance or in media?
Finance,
Okay.
accounting. But I've done like everything under the sun. Like
Sam's my personal trainer too, and my life coach, and that's how we met.
Really? Oh, wow.
That's how we connected. A couple
How
years,
long have you known
ago.
about crypto, Sam?
Well, I actually had my first full Bitcoin back in 2013, and then I lost it. So
Wow.
but
Okay.
but it wasn't like I was like paying attention to it. It was like I helped somebody out, and he was like, "Hey man, let me just give you some of this digital money." I was like, "What is it? How do you do it? I don't know what you're doing." And he was like, "Go do this. Go do this." I did that, and he sent it to me, and it was at the time it was about $100. And I had that, and then I lost it. But since then, I haven't paid attention to crypto, just like little bits here and there because I do a little bit for one of my businesses. But I literally actually got into crypto about 30 days ago. And it's been, like it was on my mind for the last 24 months. I was like, I saw what was happening with Tesla before everybody else. I knew I was going to switch to crypto. I'm telling my girlfriend, I was like, hey, next time I see something, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start investing money right away. Because if I had started investing money into Tesla in 2010 when I started following them, like I would be, how Tangent was, you'd be in a different side. What about yourself? What do you, it sounds like you're a stylist a little bit by the name.
Well, I work in fashion. I do some styling kind of on the side, just more as a favor to people. I don't do it as a career, but I'm on the buying side. So I work with a department store in the UK, and I just work with a team of buyers for women's clothing, and then I manage that business. So I've been doing this for, some version of this job for a long time now. So I've been at it for a while. And then,
how did you get bit? Like, how did you be like, okay, yeah, I got to get into crypto? Like, what was it for you?
A friend of mine got me into the Pulse Chain launch. He's somebody that was day one Bitcoin. He's super into it. And he's been trying to get me into crypto for years, but I just didn't understand it. I didn't want to understand it. And then finally he's like, okay, this opportunity is so big. Just put some money in, like put X amount and just put it in. Don't ask questions, and you don't have time because you got to had to convert all my money to ETH and, like sign up for all the different wallets and like whatever. And then, so I did it. And then I started to research what I invested in. K4K is like, yeah, invest now, research later. That's literally what I did. I had no idea what I put my money in.
I think that's fine.
What?
I think that's fine.
You can't research if you haven't invested. Your brain doesn't work that way. Anyone in this chat can say whatever they want. Your brain cannot work on things that you don't have incentive structure towards. It's just not how it works. But how you get that incentive structure, what's the guy's name? Or like, anyway, whatever that guy is that onboarded you, guys, biceps in the chat for that guy.
I'm pretty sure.
That guy was a real one. Come on,
No,
he was a real one.
He did me a huge favor. So when I started investigating and doing some research, I stumbled upon all these videos about Hex. I'm like, what is Hex? Like, what is this? And so I started to, learn more about it. And I'm like, I think this is actually really good. And the irony is that my friend who got me to invest is not into Hex. So he's like, oh no, I don't hold any of that. So, but then I decided to do it anyway.
What's his take on it? Do you know his take on the whole thing?
He's not against it. He just doesn't know about it. So I've been trying to catch up with him to tell him that he should invest in it. But, he's just waiting for Pulse Chain to launch. So I was like, okay, fine, fair enough.
Hey, if he's open to being on camera or wants to chat, he can come on and we can talk to him about it.
Yeah, he's actually really, really intelligent, and he'd be a good guest. I'll ask him.
If he ever wants to talk, Sam would love to pick his mind apart, and we'd love to get his perspective as someone who actually is successful. Because that's the thing, right? There's a lot of people that we all say, like, if you don't have Hex, you're wrecked. But there's plenty of normal guys that are totally rich doing other shit. Even just independent businesses. I know people that are super rich. They don't touch anything. They don't even invest really. So it's really there's so many factors, right? That's the thing. It's always so multifactorial. Whenever you're talking about someone's bags and what they own, you're just like, why? Sometimes people's incentive to find something is because they need that. And if you never need that, like he's like, I've been rich for 10 years, 15 years. I'm not really, I would have never found this if I was like, I need a way out of this fucking hellhole.
Yeah.
But I think what do you like to go by? Like
crypto.
Crypto, yeah.
Crypto.
Sorry.
So what you were mentioning, I think that and what you were just saying, GRC, is so Pulse Chain's coming out, right? There's everybody here is probably slightly bullish or 100% bullish on Pulse Chain, but
Like
there's
this.
like you're gonna have people in legacy, and when I say legacy, I don't mean legacy finance. I mean legacy crypto, as in BTC and ETH.
Okay.
And you're gonna have people in that environment, like your buddy, who is like, hey, you should check out this another thing that's opening up. He probably puts in 5 or 10% of his bag, a very trivial amount, relatively speaking. But he's like, I'm not gonna go into something. I'm gonna stay in blue chip, right? I'm gonna stay with the legacy crypto because to him that feels less risky to do something like that. And I think there's gonna be a lot of money that stays over in ETH and that stays over in other areas just because that's what they've been in for so long.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That
Right,
actually makes sense.
Tangent, take a look at the screen.
Sure.
That was I replied to your tweet. Richard thought it was funny too.
No, bullshit. Did he
Yeah, he
like
replied.
it?
Yeah, he loves when I post my selfies with my
Get out. We got a
He
rich
did.
man. Wait, for the next my notifications are blowing up, bro. This is like the next 2 days is gonna be like Twitter's gonna be messaging me being like, yo, you've got so many notifications that we need to put some filters in place
I'm
to
sending
manage your shit.
Richard a link right now.
This has only happened to me once before where Richard has been like interacted with a tweet of mine and it just blew my shit up. Like
So
I love it though. I love it though. I hope that didn't sound like I was complaining. I love that shit.
No, it doesn't sound like a complaint. But it was very clear that it's exciting when he responds. It is bananas when he responds or he promotes something. It's crazy.
Crypto,
Everything just blows up.
What are your thoughts on leveraging into crypto? So we were talking about potentially there's many different ways to do it, right? You could take a loan against your house, right? And set a reserve aside so that you do it for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, take the delta, the difference, and put that into a hex stake for that. If you're like 1 year is good enough for me, cool, then you do it for 1 year. If it's 3 years, then you do 3 years. Or you could do it with a credit card, but you can allow yourself to do a cash advance and then transfer it over so you don't have to pay any interest. You could do it with a 401k. There's a couple different ways to leverage capital in the old world and put it into crypto. What are your thoughts, or what's your like, hey, because it's always dudes on here, super hyperactive, ADD, like everywhere. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a strategy, and to leverage your property to, and then set yourself up. I mean, I think to me, it makes me nervous. As bullish as I am on crypto, it makes me nervous when I hear about people borrowing money to get into it. I mean, if that's the only way, then okay, then I think it's something to look at. But I mean, you want to leverage it like to where if you borrow, you take out $100,000 line of credit, only put 10 grand in. Don't put the whole thing in because you can get in a lot of trouble. Things can go wrong. It's so volatile.
What in your mind do you think could go wrong? I'm curious. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just want to know. It's like, this is a strategy that Sam is looking at. I talked to other people with different POVs.
You can lose your keys. You can lose your hardware wallet. Things can happen to where you lose your crypto. I mean, or you can die and somebody doesn't have your keys and then you have this big loan. So it's it's just a lot of things that you had to put into place. I'm not saying don't do it. I just personally
no, not at all.
I don't like to borrow money. I like to work with what I have. I don't even have a credit card. I literally don't own a credit card because I don't like to borrow. I like to work with what I have. So if it means that I have to sell something, because I have a property in LA, I actually was thinking, should I sell it? Am I better off selling it and use the profit to put into crypto? I've actually thought about that. But then I don't know. For me, this is my personality. I wouldn't want to take a line of credit against it to put into crypto because then I don't know. It's just psychological, and it probably doesn't make any sense if we really broke it down analytically. What you're saying, I understand what you're saying, and that is a strategy. It's a valid strategy for some. For myself, it's not great because I'm just very averse to like debt and borrowing, and it makes me nervous. So that's
Sam,
just my personal thing.
In that scenario that you put on that spreadsheet, do you lose the house if, like, say one of those eventualities happens? So you could cover with income if there was a total F up. So So
Even,
subtly
even,
different.
even if I
Subtly
lose, even
different.
if it all goes to zero, I can still pay the bill.
I
Not that
think
want
we're
to.
not. We're
Okay.
the person to personness of this again is the whole thing. It's like the whole thing is like nobody understands. I understand Sam because I know him, but no one else obviously knows him. And he's one of the most analytical dudes, and he writes everything down and he makes sure he doesn't miss anything. So yes, for Sam with the numbers, but like for me, someone like me, like I don't want to focus on that because it's not worth my time for me because I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but if I was some sort of like dude who could just throw numbers on a thing all day, like K for K, those kind of guys that are a little bit more like with the numbers. Well, I don't want to, everyone's different, but you're analytical as fuck, dude. So we have to remember that we're putting you in a box around this, like the general public, which is just not accurate. Because you're just not the general public, dude. Like you write things in notebooks and you go to the gym all day and you eat perfectly and you go to bed on time, and that's not the general public.
Yeah, you seem like you're very disciplined and you're very regimented, and that you would set yourself up in a way where you couldn't fail. But I think a lot of people would be reckless, could be reckless, So that's where I get nervous, about that scenario. But for you, I'm sure it'd be great. Not that I think that you need to do that, but so you've only been in crypto for 30 days and you're already streaming? That's amazing. I assume you got in PulseX. Is that?
I got into PulseX like one day before it went away.
GRC was begging him, crypto stylist. I wasn't begging him, but I was like, dude, this is crazy. I just wanted him to catch the little spark. I just wanted him to catch the spark. But once he's done like 40 videos already, on like everything.
40 videos?
How many videos have you done on PulseX or Hex or PulseChain?
Okay, I'm gonna check out your content. Yeah, I'm gonna check out your content and see.
I'll pull it up. I do videos on so I was doing fitness related stuff, but like there's a whole realm of fitness, biohacking, longevity that is similar to DeFi in the sense that DeFi is on the fringe of society, right? So there's the fringe of society in DeFi, but there's also the fringe of society when it comes to fitness. There's drugs, there's compounds, there's supplements, there's peptides, there's stem cell type stuff. There's all sorts of this crazy cool stuff you can get access to that can change your life in different ways depending on what's going on, whether it's just disease or healing yourself or tanning or doing that kind of stuff. So I was already putting content around that. That's the wrong channel. GRC, you're muted, but I'll pull it up.
Yo, one of my in real life friends is in the chat and has just said a comment that is like quite important, just like a clarification for people that are thinking about this. He said, using equity is different to using a line of credit, because we kind of talked about both, but it might have not been clear to viewers that they were two different options.
So if you're looking, and hello, FUNDINGGYM, how you doing?
Hey, FUNDINGGYM.
Hi.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm listening in for a little bit, and then I've got commentary about all these things. But yeah,
fantastic.
If you have any questions, Sam, he knows a lot of stuff about funding.
I would love to hear your thoughts on this, especially with the name FUNDINGGYM. It implies that you have some background around gym stuff, but then also the funding or the finance piece of things. To answer or to kind of like draw the distinction between the line of credit and like equity is they're both going to be accessing equity in a property, but one is like generally speaking, you can either do it like a second loan on top of a first loan, or just refinance the whole thing. So you just have one loan and you're going to have a fixed rate. Whereas if you do a HELOC, you can lock in portions of it depending on the institution. So it could be fixed, but it might not be as favorable of a rate. And you basically have two sides of it, or it could be a variable rate. So if you're doing that, it presents different risks. Like we could talk about that for 30 minutes, but that's the biggest difference is the variable rate that could be playing. FUNDINGGYM, can you give some thoughts on something like that? So borrowing at 5% and then putting it into Hex, at whether you could do that in a plethora of different ways. What are your thoughts on that?
So it depends on your jurisdiction. It depends on your country, territory. It depends on your relationship with your bank. Obviously, if you've already got a mortgage, you might have actually gone through a local bank or a credit union. You know, it really depends on the structure of what you already have as collateral. I tend not to like taking equity out on secured or collateralized things as much as playing the debt game of unsecured collateral, which is basically your trended data, which is, you know, have you paid back unsecured loans in the past, you know, where you just basically signed a piece of paper and said, I promise to pay this back. If you have that kind of trended data, if you have high credit scores, and again, different countries have different ways of evaluating your quote unquote worthiness to take capital. In the United States, we have LLCs, LLPs, sole proprietorships, corporations, and I tend to like to protect your personal credit because that is the reference point for a new business, a new LLC, a new sole proprietorship, and that can get capital very, very quickly that's unsecured. It really depends on your maturity and your, you know, I won't even say integrity, but your thoughtfulness about using unsecured capital first. I tend to promote that because I think it's less risky.
From my, you know, rudimentary understanding of unsecured, right? So if you're doing unsecured, it's still going to take, you know, 6 months to set that up, right? Or a year to set that up. Is that could be completely wrong because I have an elementary understanding of setting up something like a BLOC or some type of business, you know, loan of some sort. It's still going to take 6 to 12 months, right? Because you got to set up history and all that kind of stuff and get all the pieces in place or have yourself registered in different spots.
Are you United States?
Yes.
So if you're United States, again, you can navigate this. I was doing this for many years before crypto, and I tend not to do it as much now because honestly, it's a time suck. And people have, you know, if they have a 600 credit score and they want to apply and they, you know, they kind of talk to me on Twitter or Telegram, I feel like, okay, I want to help you out. But I also don't like navigating people that have had challenges with their credit in the past. I would say that if you have a 720 to 740 in the United States FICO, or, you know, if you average your Equifax, Experian, TransUnion scores, you have a 740-ish, somewhere in there. Within probably about 3 days, you can have a sole proprietorship, which is an entity that's attached to your social security number, and you can only ever have one. You can never transfer it to someone else. You can never sell it to someone else. You can never buy one from someone else because it's attached to your social security number. And all of your personal credit history, that score, matters because you don't have any raw materials. You don't have any office space. You don't have anything whatsoever as a business because you just filed for a sole proprietorship today. Within a week, you can already have an EIN number, and that EIN number is what you put on your business credit applications. And on your business credit applications, they're going to see that it got formed 4 days ago. They don't expect you to have ROI. They don't expect you to have profit margin or proof on your books that you actually are running an operation, operating a business that makes money. But what they do know is, hey, you managed your personal credit history. You have credit card history that's a few years old. You have $5,000 or $10,000 credit limits on your personal history. You're managing under 30% debt to income ratio or debt
DTI
your credit utilization, what ratio of your available to you credit you're actually utilizing on your personal debt. They can see that you've paid off cars in the past, that you have an existing mortgage, and all of those things are what's contributing to your 740 or so credit score. I will say that if you can get a $10,000 personal credit card, you can get a $50,000 business credit card that has 0% APR running between 9 to 15 months. That's current right now in the United States. Within a month or so, if you've managed your personal credit well, and you have that kind of sense of responsibility, and you want to start a business, don't take out a business loan. Don't take out equity on your house. There is so much unsecured credit out there. And what does an underwriter for personal credit do? They say, you're using 30% of this $10,000 card. You have $3,000 worth of debt on this card. Okay, that's a vacation that you bought a refrigerator. What happens when you get to $8,000 or $9,000 of use on that $10,000 card? Well, your credit suffers. It goes down because the closer you get to that upper limit of what's available to you.
From a utilization standpoint? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because they look at it and they say, this is consumer debt. This isn't anything that's going to have an ROI. This is something that got bought to be consumed. This was clothes, this was vacation, this was, this was luxury, whatever. Now, what does an underwriter for a business credit for the same, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, but they have a different department. It's business credit. When they have business credit card debt and they look at that utilization, what do they say? They say, hey, this brand new business that is 3 weeks old needs marketing, raw materials, needs to rent an office space, needs to hire people, right? So you can use 100% of a $50,000 card that's 3 weeks old and have no impact whatsoever on your debt or on your credit score evaluation, because they say that is an entrepreneur that's going to have ROI. If they pay this down over and responsibly, not even paid it down, but they just responsibly managed it like they have with their personal credit over the past 10 years or whatever your history is, then they're going to actually be in profit, and they're going to have more credit we will make available to them in the future. I have over $700,000 worth of personal credit card available, but I have over $3 million worth of business credit at basically 0% to 3% is my managing operating APR. So
And
you can do this stuff on your own.
So to paraphrase, I love this idea. I was just having a conversation yesterday with somebody in the comments, bullish here. I'm not sure if you've ever chatted with him on Twitter, but he was saying the same thing about going with the unsecured. So, but very simply for anybody who didn't grasp, because I think we may be talking about things that other people are just not familiar with. If you are borrowing of something that your name is attached to, if shit fucks up, you're fucked as a person, or your personal credit. By doing unsecured just means that you're borrowing money with some entity that you create. If shit fucks up, that entity goes to zero and you're good. Effectively, one way of looking at it. Okay, so that's fascinating.
There's a firewall between. You should protect your personal credit because it's the reference for all of the other businesses that you ever form in the future. If you have $100,000 worth of personal credit available to you, you can manage that into $5 or $10 million worth of other businesses having credit.
Question, and then I can, I don't want anybody else has other questions, feel free to jump in. Where would be, because I think this is fascinating. I love this idea. Where is there a good resource that somebody who's a noob on the unsecured lending front go to, or you could just be like Google or YouTube? Do you have any resources like that you could point out?
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 channels on YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't really pay for services and things like that unless they're going to do it for you. And you're saying, hey, I've got turnkey, I've got relationship, and these people. I was doing this before. I was doing this and helping people. So I used to run a startup accelerator in Palo Alto. And most of my tenants, 15 to 20 tenants that I had, they were from countries that do not operate with a credit system. They're not a leveraged country, really. So they come from Colombia. 97% of Colombia is owned property. There's only about 3% that has a mortgage. If you work in Ukraine, obviously Ukraine's had its issues, but Latvia, Belarus, the Baltics, all these different places, they come from cash economies pretty much. They have a family home or house. They work for several years. They basically buy their property. And then if you talk about credit, it's 20, 25% APR, because there is not really an understanding of the over leveraged United States kinds of systems as they are in first world countries. So you have a lot of resources on YouTube University, and just look up business credit, how to do it. Look up things like how to improve your personal, look up things on how to make your personal credit pass all of the evaluating algorithms before a human being ever sees it. The number one thing that people screw up with their personal credit is that their driver's license doesn't match their utility bill word for word, letter for letter, right? And it throws a flag. And then you get kicked out of an application and you don't even know why you got rejected, right? You don't know why. And most of the time it's because an algorithm threw them out and a human never reviewed it, right? So there's all kinds of stuff you can do to basically groom and perfect your personal credit profile. Algorithms automatically approve you. And then most people, whenever it's kind of like when you shop for a fancy TV at the store. You shop for the deal, you look for the best price, you go buy the TV, you bring it to your house. Do you look tomorrow for how much that TV sells for the next day at a different place? No, because you already got the TV. Well, most people, when they get approved for their personal credit or business credit, most people, they say, hey, you got a $5,000 or $10,000 card. They have 30 days, but they never call back to the underwriter or to the company and say, hey, 5,000 was great, but can I get 10? Can I get 20? Can I get 30? They never continue the negotiation once they first get their card. And so most of what I've been able to do is take people that have gotten $10,000 approval and then get them up to 50,000. That's at 0% APR for 15 months. And then they use it how they want to.
So that was the next question. The clarification. I think you said that somebody could, if they're starting at zero, they could have a BLOC of some sort or loan of some sort relatively quick. But I didn't know if you had an idea of time frames. Obviously it's not like, hey, if you do this, you're going to have it in 2 weeks or maybe 4 months. But
if you're already well groomed, if it's not a lot of this kind of coaching about, hey, make sure your driver's license matches your utility bill, and then you've got to get a statement from your utility bill that shows, because you're going to show that to the underwriters at Bank of America or whoever, is if you're already pretty well groomed, I would say within 6 weeks you have 150 grand, 100 to 150 grand available to you.
And APY, you can expect some type of 12 to 18, 24 months of zero or low.
It's very similar to your promotional. You're a new relationship, and what do they want while you're at 0% APR? Do they think you're going to take 100 grand out tomorrow after you get the card? No, they think you're going to build it up over the course of 3 to 4 months of launching a business. You need to have a website. You need to hire someone to develop your website or whatever, or you're going to buy raw materials and sell it on Amazon FBA. You're going to you need to produce some clothing or something like that you're going to market, right? So they give you the window, which is, like I said, right now, 9 to 15 months is a very generous, at the very minimum 6 months, but 9 to 15 months is pretty consistent for business credit, because they don't think you're going to take all that capital out all at once. But you just need to figure out how you're going to do it. I mean, I know a lot of those tricks.
I have one other question on this, and then I wanted to paraphrase because I think there's some people may not appreciate what we're talking about here and show how that's actually relevant. When you have access to this capital and say in some time frame in the future you did decide to go through bankruptcy, is that something you've ever gone through? I'm curious to know if you've gone through that process.
No,
because
I think bankruptcy ruins you, and I think that you should, and it does, because it takes so much of your operating time out. 7 years to 10 years depends on how much you try to trim it down. But 10 years of having blight on your credit profile in the United States system, at least, you can try and fight it. You can try to go through all the different machinations to get it removed from your credit histories and things like that. But no, I don't think that you should go through bankruptcy. I think that you can usually negotiate things down. There's a lot of stuff
with the business side. With the business side, you're talking business. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're all about renegotiating. Do you think that they want to get nothing, or do you think they want to get 10%? You think they want to get nothing, or they want to get 20%? Right? When you're saying bankruptcy, you're saying nothing. And don't you think that they'd rather have 20%? Don't you think it's possible to manage your way out of it instead of having blight for 10 years? Right? And again, if you do these things, almost always, it is attached to your personal guarantee. Almost always, right? Even if you say I'm going to launch an LLC and a corporation, I'm going to have a separate entity. I guarantee that when Apple started, Steve Jobs was a co-signer. So was Wozniak. Now they've got all kinds of history, but they didn't at the origin.
So you're talking unsecured with a personal guarantee. Is there ways to do that without the personal guarantee? I'm sure there probably is in some type of creative fashion.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, if I don't know you and I don't see your face, I don't know any history, you don't have any trended data as a business that's launching, and you want me to trust your entrepreneurism with how much money? How much do I need to trust you, right? So personal guarantee isn't normal. There's reasons these firewalls exist. They're reporting on different credit systems, as far as reporting in the United States again. So just learn how they look at it as an underwriter, learn at why the algorithm is programmed the way that it is, and realize that you're getting free capital. I mean, effectively free if you manage it well. And yeah, there's reasons and structural reasons why you should go through certain types of bankruptcy and certain types of cases. And almost always it's a restructuring version versus this, I don't have to pay my debts because I rolled the dice and I rolled wrong. Like, I don't really agree with that stuff either. There's ways that you can write it down. You can roll it over into debt in a new company. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to navigate your way out of it.
Thank you. That's fascinating. So anybody who's in the comments and you're like lost and you don't have any idea what we're talking about here, think of if you've ever had a moment in your life where you are like, hey, if I just have $5,000 to put into this asset or deal or business prop, right? Or I just had $10,000 to buy this thing that helps me grow faster. That is exactly what we're talking about, is ways to access that. And maybe it's 150. FUNDINGGYM just mentioned $3 million of different business lines loans that he has available or access to or is utilizing to buy. $3 million could buy you $10 million worth of real estate. You know, there's different ways to like go through and get access.
All depends about where you're at, right? Like some people look
yeah.
at information and just not give it a flying fuck, and then some people are like, this is the most valuable information. It depends what your goals are too. Like some people just want to be chill.
Right.
You know, and then some people want to not be chill and just make more money and really push forward. And
I've built mine over like 30 years, and mine.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I was just about to say.
15, you know,
Maybe
it would be unrealistic for someone to think that they could get FUNDINGGYM's level of credit in like a short duration. That's
FUNDINGGYM's alpha OG big baller, big baller shit.
Like private jet level shit.
Mostly because I've done real estate related things. So if you need to get again, I'm not talking about California and New York, but I'm talking about like the middle of the United States, a $200,000 house, right? How much do you need as a down payment? Even if you're doing 20% down, 40 grand. If you build up your business credit and you basically use your business credit in the way of saying, hey, I need a down payment. Well, you can pull your down payment from a business credit card, but buy it in your name, right? You can fund yourself from your business and then put that as a down payment. Now you're 80% mortgage, 20% of your skin in the game, quote unquote skin. And then you put a tenant in, you operate it well for 4 to 6 months. You can get it a mortgage redone to where it's 100% financed and then repay your capital. So you do that 4 or 5 times. And then businesses that are your lenders, they say, hey, he used $40,000 on a $50,000 credit card and he paid it off in 4 months. Maybe that's a good piece of data about his management of capital. That's all you are really when you're rich, is you're just a good manager of capital, whether it's yours or other people's. Doesn't really matter.
That's fascinating. So you can, in one way of saying what FUNDINGGYM has mentioned, you can buy real estate with no money down, in essence, right? Because you're using funded money to put the down payment down, so that's not your money, and then you're using a loan to fund the rest of the real estate deal. So you got 2 pieces together. Neither of those pieces are yours, and you get the property of what those 2 pieces give you, or like come together.
I mean, the same thing is, I'm not a general contractor, but I end up working in a long relationship. When I was in California, mostly work with a relationship with general contractors, and you can say, okay, hey, I need to get this Home Depot credit card for my business, for my LLC. Okay, great. And you build up history because the general contractor needs to buy 30 grand worth of stuff, right? Give him the credit card, let him go buy the stuff instead of billing it out to you, especially once you have a really good relationship. You've had trended history with this person. So I've done that before in like 4 or 5 different properties. And then Home Depot loves you because they're just getting an affiliate kind of percentage. They're just a brand on a credit card. Visa loves you because you pay your bills on automatic, or whoever the underwriting lender is. So you just build trended history, and then the entity itself, you're in control of. But if things go bad in some way, you have some kind of liability, slip and fall, whatever. It's not that your bank account for the LLC has a shitload of money. You just have a shitload of capital, access, and credit. There's all kinds of ways that you can limit your liability through credit.
Can you talk about any issues that you may have run into, like because there's like KORYPTOSTYLIST, so she right is my girlfriend's the same way, a little bit adverse to credit or debt of any sort, whether it's to buy a property or anything.
Yep.
So there's
I'm the
concerns
same way. I'm the same way.
and probably a lot of people who are in the comments, right? You know, Dave Ramsey, everybody's like, don't do debt, don't do debt.
I don't have I just got my first credit card ever.
Yeah.
Like I never even had one. I didn't know much about it. I just made a lot of money and worked like 12 hours a day, and I just was caught up in that. I never really thought about anything else until I went head deep into this arena, and then it was just boom from there.
Well, the what I would say as far as like CryptoStylist as an example, she has a social security number. She should have a sole proprietorship. She can never trade it. The trended data of her personal credit history will lend credibility to her sole proprietorship, whether it exists before or it just launches tomorrow. But should she open a merchant account and start doing business as a sole proprietor? No, she should not. She should use that as a cup of money that banks will put in money into, credit available to, unsecured credit available to. She should not open a merchant account. She should not do business and open books and things like that for it creating profit. But she can use that capital from her sole proprietorship as a pool of money to pull into her LLC. And then her LLC is actually the one that has limited liability protections and has, you know, instead of going and soliciting or borrowing money from others or from herself and her personal funds, she can borrow it from her entity of the sole proprietorship, fund herself, because everybody else is a VC or seed or angel or whatever. They're going to want a percentage of equity of her LLC and her idea and her IP and her work and her sweat, right? No, she should fund herself by managing well credit of her personal trended data that lends credibility to underwriters to fund her sole proprietorship, and then she borrows from her sole proprietorship, and she never has to file taxes. She never has to file taxes on her sole proprietorship because she never makes money from her sole proprietorship. All she does is it's a cup that Bank of America says, hey, you look like you're viable. Let me put some business credit available to you. And if she pays her bills as a sole proprietor, she pays her bills, she can pay it from her LLC, from her personal, from her long trended history, and just build up that account. My sole prop has the shitload of money available to it. But does it operate as a business? No, it just lends to my other businesses.
That's awesome. So using the sole prop, I did not know, I didn't think about that, but you're just using it as a bucket for, you know, funding your other actual businesses, right?
Right. The banks just look at, did we give him money? Did it get paid back? Did we make a percentage, which is their APR, their fees, or whatever it is? So they're going to make profit. That's all that the Bank of America cares about. They got the money for nothing because they get it from the Fed. And then they lend it out at initially very low or zero interest. And then if you manage it well and you learn the techniques, I don't recommend people go in degen and going to Vegas. And I really don't recommend them speculating in crypto. I mean, I know this is the context is crypto, but I want mature people that build businesses that deliver services and goods. I like that. I like real estate because there's endless equity available to it. And worst comes to worst, you can move out of your own house and live in a cheaper place while your house pays for it. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do in real estate that I like a lot. Crypto, I know, is a different animal. I believe in the products that we all believe in, but still, I don't speculate shitload with credit when it comes to that. Maybe timing of big payday, I took some money out just for like special events, but I wouldn't degen with credit.
Hey, I got a question real quick. One sec. I actually want to know this for myself before I forget it. So if I just quit my job not too long, this is not a good idea, and I'm not asking.
What?
I'm not asking anyone if this is a good idea or not. I just did it. I always do stupid shit, so don't worry. So basically, I quit my job because I couldn't handle it anymore, and all I wanted to do was learn about crypto, and I was brand new to it and learn about finance. I had no idea about anything. Was not even thinking about this shit at all. You know, Sam, because you were my life coach. I was thinking about working out. You know, being happy was definitely a part of what I wanted to do, but it really just never got to money yet. I wanted to develop personally. And then when I got to that point and I dived in here and I had money because I was working and I started investing, now I'm at a place where I just want to do my channel. I'm an obsessive compulsive freak of nature. Okay. I cannot stop doing the same thing over and over and over again when I put my mind to it. And that's just the way I am. And I've accepted that a long, long time ago. And when my brain switched to this shit, I just went, I said, fuck it. And it has nothing to do with money. And I don't need money. I have, I have months and months and months of being able to survive, but it only cost me $800 a month to live. So guys, do not do this unless you've set yourself up. Like I have renters in the house that I live in. I own it.
Good.
I'm not paying for anything.
He's house hacking. That's awesome.
I'm house hacking.
That's how I
and
started
I'm going
it. Yeah.
nomad.
Yep.
So
but I'm doing it. And I was wondering, how could I have 180, well, let's not say specifics because that would be stupid. Okay. I have a house with a good amount of equity in it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not working necessarily claiming any income at the moment. Is there still any way that I could get a little chunk of money just to live off of while I like start my, working journey? Like obviously I'm trying to start working, right?
good question.
Just curious.
So he wants to know if there's a way to access that, or is it better to just set it up the way you were just talking about it?
Because I have no income.
Because he's not showing any income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, the easiest to lend are the people that have a house, because you can't put it in your backpack and walk away with it. Okay, the higher interest rate you're going to pay on a car, because you can drive that away and hide it at a neighbor's house, and people have a harder time to repossess it. Right. The highest rate is going to be because it's unsecured. You're just going to walk away from your name and your credit profile, right? And it's going to go to shit. So again, this goes to what is collateral and how secure is it? How easy is it to get to, right? For you, you have a job, a W-2. They like to lend to people that have a bank statement that shows a deposit every month from somebody that's not you, right? They love that.
No, he quit his job though.
All last year.
That's what I'm saying.
All last year, I claimed my taxes. Does that make a difference?
Yeah. So no, it doesn't really, because the underwriters now, they look within 15 days on if you're actually employed. If it's like a $2,000 credit card, sure, that's fine. But if it's going to be something that's significant, like your equity in your house,
$10,000 or $15,000.
Are your renters paying in a check to your personal bank account? Or are they paying?
No, they're not claimed or anything.
Well, he's also didn't claim it. Like hypothetically,
they just give me cash or
So I don't want to be offensive, but underwriters would hate you right now, because even though you have equity in your house, you don't have any provable source of income to pay for your house.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. That's what I was asking. I thought maybe there was some ninja kung fu alpha you could give me.
Yeah, the ninja kung fu alpha is to get all of your tenants to sign a piece of paper that says that they're on the lease, and then have all of your tenants pay into a bank account that preferably wouldn't be your personal account. You would set up even if it had to be a sole proprietorship because you don't want to file taxes. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you should basically legitimize the money flow.
I think you just answered my question, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I wanted to. There's one more question here, and then I actually got to run. But so you had mentioned the word twice, speculative, right? And you're referencing speculative and crypto. And if we were talking to like a third party person who doesn't necessarily know the depths of real estate or the depths of crypto, if I was like, hey, what do you think about borrowing 100% of equity or 100% of a real estate deal, they're going to be like speculative, right? So I just think that there's a potential, right? Because it's like from somebody else's point of view, what borrowing 100% of a deal without any equity in the deal to somebody's point of view could be very, very risky. Where if you look at it from somebody else's point of view, it's like, oh, that's not risky at all because you understand the nuances of it. Because risk is such a nuanced thing, right? Like when you go through and do something, or before you do something, the risk is high, right? Because you don't understand the actual process. Once you go through and do that, then the risk, you're like, oh, there's perceived risk. That potential risk that I thought was a risk is not actually a risk. It's relevant to like the set of possibilities and kinds of things. But I just wanted to draw that or see if you had thoughts on that, because you could take the same like ARB that you're doing in real estate and you could apply that to crypto, where you have something where you can lock it in and not have to deal with property manager, not have to deal with maintenance on the deal or any of the other associated things with it, mainly those in the funding piece of it, right? And just put it aside. But there's no leverage effect where you could take 100,000 and buy $400,000 worth of crypto. There's just a 1-for-1 kind of ratio there, but the whole entire position is leveraged in a sense.
Well, the distilled kind of answer is, do you feel more comfortable betting on other people's productivity or on yours? Do you feel more comfortable putting money in other people's control because of their management skills, their dedication to understanding their marketplace, or yours? Which one do you prefer? So Jim Rat prefers, with his associates inside of his house, to manage the economics of his household and his lifestyle and his support. He's managing himself, right? He's house hacking. I did that. I lived in a garage when I first moved to Silicon Valley in 2006. I came on a medical contract, and I was supposed to work at Kaiser, which is a big hospital system there. And rent from Florida's perspective and from exiting out of the military only a few years earlier perspective was fucking high. I was like, God damn, this is a tiny little house, 1,100 square foot, and it's like $4,000. And it seemed very, very expensive to me. I mean, extremely expensive to me. So what did I feel more comfortable doing? I felt more comfortable signing a lease, finding it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and putting 3 tenants that paid $800 each. And then I lived in the garage. I took a 2-car garage. I put carpets on the floor. I put a refrigerator in the corner. I put a queen size bed, and I hung a TV from the rafters. And I lived there for like 2 years, 2006 to 2008.
Probably a good time, Funding Jim.
Yeah. And I was making something like $200,000 a year. I think I was making $200,000 a year living in a garage. Right. So Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this all the time. He saved and saved and saved. He built up the wine business for his father, the wine library stuff. He did all of that stuff. And then I think he was 34. And at 34, he had, $300,000 or $400,000 that he had saved up, making like $30,000 a year. But he'd saved up $300,000 or $400,000. And then he went all in on things like Uber. I think it was Uber. So, you prepare and plan. And then when opportunity is there, you're prepared for it. So you're either betting on other people and what they will do. And that's the same thing when it comes to like taking debt. If you say, I'm going to take equity out on my house, and you say you're going to put it toward a nice boat in the driveway, or, some vacation that you saved up and wanted to go to, but you couldn't afford it because you didn't save enough, but you took out credit to go on that vacation. You got to look at yourself and say, what are you actually doing? You're putting yourself in a bigger hole instead of actually taking capital, making it productive for you, right? So if worse comes to worse, when it comes to living in a place, you can say, hey, it's been really nice, but kind of things economically are not going that great. I think I'm going to move into the garage. I'm going to rent out the main house. Like, you can do that stuff because you're betting on yourself. That's why I like that. I don't like things that I can be forced to capitulate. And crypto can be one of those things. You can drop 80%. You can think things are going great for a long time. And then you say, hey, I'm going to lose it all if I don't capitulate, So I don't like those things where I'm forced into capitulation.
Interesting, because yes, there's an 80% dip right now, right? So if this was something that somebody found interesting, or like they're comfortable with the risks with it, you're like, well, when is the best time to do it? Because we see that in the real estate market where people do what I'm talking about in the real estate market, but they wait till the prices have already fucking run up ridiculous amount. Tangent had just mentioned somebody that did this in Hex at 30 cents or 50 cents a share. But when is the best time to do that? When shit is ridiculously cheap, relatively speaking. But
Richard even highlights it can go an 80% dip, and then from the 80% dip, it can dip 80%. It can do those things, man.
That's what I'm saying, Sam. You got to be careful, dude. This shit is Cardano dropped 99% and recovered and hit all-time highs.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a horrible idea. What I'm saying is you have to work out the end point and say, hey, am I comfortable with an 80% dip? Yes, I am. I'm going all in. Okay. Am I comfortable with the 80% dip from the 80% dip? That seems really low. And, in 2017, some of those things that went that far came back up. Some of them never came back up, right? So I would just say that take out what you're comfortable with paying back. Take out what you're comfortable with paying back. for whatever you're going to do. You say, hey, I'm going to launch a clothing brand. I'm going to have a no money down piece of real estate that tenants are going to pay for. I'm going to buy a nice car so that I can run Uber if worse comes to worse, right? So as long as people have their exit route, even when you drive down the highway, you should be thinking, hey, what if that car in front of me stops? Like, I need to dart to the right real fast and go into the ditch. Like, you should always be anticipating is kind of my thing, you know?
So it's sort of likely worst case scenario.
Yeah. Then you're prepared for it. Like, you're ready for it.
Just get zero. Like, I just think worst case scenario when I do something, I'm like, oh, I'll just get wrecked 100%. Can I still recover? Well, that's that's how I think about it. I'm like, if I get wrecked from one attack vector and my life is over, that's an issue.
Yeah.
That's a huge issue. Like, there's no one area in my life. And that's why you got to keep, like, around here where I live or like where I grew up, people buy the biggest house they can physically buy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very wealthy area with a lot of big houses with 3 to 5 acres, kind of that vibe more, with like old farmland that's like moving into the city. And it's like absolutely the housing bubble that is down here right now is crazy what's going on with the prices of the houses and everything. My house, I bought it right before COVID. It went up $180,000 in equity, and I did not touch a thing other than sit in here and sleep.
Well, I don't mind, again, I don't mind debt on your personal residence because you're probably going to be like the Alamo. It's going to be your point of last defense. Like, that's the place you're living, and you're going to do, you know, like, even when I've made videos before, which is true, I made a dormant capital videos about Hex in the day. And, you know, I sold a 1962 Corvette. I sold silver and gold. I sold, you know, things that were laying around that just weren't really doing anything for me. And that turned out spectacularly well, right? So you can do the same thing with Pulse Chain, Pulse Hex, with new Hex. There's all kinds of stuff like that I think is a great, in my opinion, place to speculate. These are all still speculations. And yet I knew that if I wanted to keep access to capital in the future, if I'm going to take credit out, I need to pay that back, and I need to figure out what is dormant. Most of us have dormant capital, which is time. Most of us, hey, 8 or 9 hours sleep, like only one job, only one thing that even when you come home at the end of the day, you know, you have time. You know, you think about the most productive people on the planet, Steve Jobs, Richard Hart, people like that are workaholics and obsessives. They only have 168 hours, just like you only have 168 hours per week. You have the same number of hours that they do. They just learn how to leverage their time, maybe through technology or maybe through empowering other people and delegating responsibilities, right? So you just your dormant capital is your innovative talents. You know, that's your dormant capital.
That's what we do on this show a lot. Like, we talk about what you just said a lot. I love to cut through the fat of what people are doing in their day-to-day lives that is ruining their lives, but they don't even realize it because they're so minute, but they happen every single day. So you're just like, you end up eating McDonald's once a day for the rest of your life, and then you end up being a fat ass. And you end up not learning about all these things and taking one step at a time. It's all about clearing your mind, understanding your value system, not lying to anyone, and doing actual business. It's like you actually have to do business. You have to provide something that other people don't have. And that means you have to have value as a human, which means you actually have to do shit. So stop copying everyone and just be yourself. Everyone's got an experience. Everyone had a childhood history. You know, like, you can always you have to have more confidence. And that's where the confidence part you can't really touch on, because it seems like that's a hard factor too. But yeah.
Thank you for everybody's insights. And I know Tangent and Crypto Stylist, we were FUNDINGGYM and I were going back and forth for the last 15 minutes or so. I appreciate you guys sitting there, and, you know, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'm going to be listening because I got to run, but FUNDINGGYM, thank you for all the information. And if I can help anybody, or they want to reach out and talk more, like, jump onto Twitter and say what's up. I'm happy to help or have the conversation carried on.
Yeah, glad to meet you. I've been watching a lot of Sam's videos, and I'm just glad to meet you here.
I'm gonna watch more of it. It's nice to meet you, Sam. I'm sure
nice
we'll
to meet you too.
hang out again soon on stream.
That's Tangent. Awesome to hear your thoughts earlier too. Appreciate you guys. We're gonna flex
See you,
out
Sam.
of here. Bye guys.
Wow, Sam Stoll, what a gentleman and a scholar, and the
Yeah.
fastest, the best question asker in the history of crypto. I labeled him that. He is the best question asker in the history of crypto. I've never seen anything like his ability to digest information in such a short amount of time. It's absolutely mind blowing. I mean, it's mind blowing to watch. I was begging this dude to buy Hex 21 days ago. He had no idea what it was. He had not a fucking.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I didn't know that.
But
That's
now
cool.
he's just like locked in. Like he knows about internet money, Hedron, everything. He knows how everything works. He knows on every chain, everything. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know.
Creating his own strategies, like
brand new.
like
He's
deep,
just a free thinker.
deep thought through like different. Yeah, crazy.
And he has controversial points and everything. And he's not. But he feels like
See,
a kid again, hanging
Funding
out with me and doing
Funding
this
Jim
shit.
also didn't notice that he's a noob to crypto.
No,
Yeah, I didn't. I had no idea. That was
30
pretty cool.
days.
I'm watching. That's awesome.
Yeah, 30 days. It's incredible. It was really enlightening to listen to you, Funding Jim, and to understand what the alternatives are to taking a line of credit on your house. And the unsecured route really makes sense. But I guess the caveat is that you have to have really strong personal credit. So it's important, I guess, to always try to make sure that, one maintains that and really looks after that. It's because that's kind of the foundation for being eligible for something like this. But the sole proprietorship as opposed to an LLC, that's interesting. And then your take on, using it as a cup of money and not as a source of income. So you don't even have to file for taxes or pay taxes on it, et cetera. That's actually a really, really, it's a very, I guess, strategic way of making money work for you, which is probably why you're, doing so well. So it was really, yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I appreciate it. I'll give you guys another freebie. So again, on your personal credit, I'm not going through. There's all kinds of YouTube universities that educate you about how they calculate a FICO or how they calculate Equifax or TransUnion score. You should research that just to understand, especially in America, because we are so credit centric. Some of the really quick tricks that can help you is, as long as you don't have blemishes. If you do have blemishes and you didn't pay your bills and things like that, sometimes even if it's been written off years ago, it might be worthwhile to reach out and try to get that removed from your credit and clean up, groom your credit profile a little bit better. Make sure that you have uniformity. That's the first thing. Make sure that your driver's license, exactly how if it says, Johnson Street and it's ST instead of street, make sure that it says ST across all of your applications, all of your utility bills. Make sure that you have uniformity in your geolocation. That's the number one that throws people out of credit applications. And then the second thing is, if you're kind of in the 700s, but not really 720s, 740s, I'm sure that you have friends or family or relatives that have better scores and maybe they have good credit history that they're willing to what's called authorized user. They add you as an authorized user. And what that means is you don't have their credit card information. You don't have their credit card. You can't spend on it because they don't give you a physical card, but they contact their credit union or their bank that they have a good credit history with. And then they add you as an AU or an authorized user. If they add you as an AU, about 30 to maybe 60 days later, on the next time that their statement releases and it propagates through the credit reporting systems, the next time, then you will inherit their credit history. You will inherit the fact that they had a 10-year-old credit card and you haven't had one ever, right? So you'll suddenly have the benefit of their trended data. And that typically will push a score up 50 points, something like that. So before you're going to do an application, before you're going to do an application as a business, as a sole prop, as a LLC, as an entity, and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to start my entrepreneurial journey, groom and prepare your personal credit. Get those things in order. 30 to 60 days is all it really takes if you manage it well. And then after you have that good score, then you can go to there's an IRS website that you just, it's an online form and you fill out to become a sole proprietorship. It doesn't matter the name. because I think it's going to just be associated with your name. It doesn't really matter. You have to come up with some ingenious kind of brand name because you're never really going to use it. You're just going to use it for applying to business credit lending entities, like usually major banks, retail banks. But basically, if you groom your personal first, you get to AAU status with to bump up your credit score, and then you apply to get your EIN associate, which is an employer identification number assigned to you by the government for your sole proprietorship. Then, if you want to manage it yourself, you can manage it yourself. And the tips I'm trying to tell you is, once you do get approved for any kind of application for business credit, you've got 20 to 30 days to call back and make phone calls every 2 to 3 days, talking to whoever answers the phone and say, hey, thank you so much for this $10,000 card. As you can see that I got approved for. By the way, I'm going to start, I need to start flying in airplanes, and I need to start marketing my business, and I need to hire this, that, or whatever service. I think 15,000 would be better than 10. I think 20,000 would be better than 10. And they will just, as a manual review, an underwriter will often 3 to 5 times what you have initially been approved for. So if you got approved for a $10,000 car, you can get it approved for 30 to 50,000. But you have to do the work of sitting on the phone tree, waiting and talking politely, not being a dick, because they can make decisions based on a whim, right? Or you could hire some of that stuff out. I'm not gonna shill, but that's what I used to do, and I don't want to do it anymore. I've done a lot of charity kind of help, but I don't want to do it, and I don't really want to charge people for it either. So you should learn on YouTube University how to do this stuff, because you can have a lot of capital. And I like real estate because there's all kinds of tax reasons. There's all kinds of stuff that I like about real estate. But if you say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I believe in this brand, I believe in this product, I want to go into this tech sector and become an expert in my space, then believe in yourself, educate yourself. You say, hey, I know people that they don't know how to program, but they want to take a programming class. Okay, don't you think you could take that? And I'm like, even to get a loan to go to school versus unsecured credit on a business credit card to go to school, I totally would go unsecured credit. You can write it off of your first earnings from your business, or your first earnings as an employee for someone else's business. There's all kinds of stuff you should do and understand about credit. Anyway, that's my rant.
Wow, the amount of information that I absorb on a daily basis is absolutely disgusting. But it's freaking awesome. Go ahead. Anyone who wants to go?
Yeah, I was going to say that's massive, especially for people that live in America. And Crypto Stylist, your summary before was really good and showed that you were listening and understood everything that was said. Legit. That was an amazing summary.
Astute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Were you a good student when you were growing up? Yeah. I could imagine by the way you did that notes, it was like you'd done it a couple times.
FUNDINGGYM, you should do a stream on this about personal credit and these tricks. These are like hacks, like matching the address, like STREET versus ST. And if that doesn't match, your application gets thrown out. That's absolutely ludicrous.
This one hack can
true.
boost your credit score 50 points.
Yeah.
Like legit, but it's the legit version of those clickbait memes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing probably, like, I'm doing a lot of stuff until maybe May, and then once I'm settled in a new spot, I'm considering to relocate, and there's a tax reason to do so. So I'm considering St. Kitts and Nevis right now, which is where Roger Ver and a lot of other people have moved to, because it gives you, instead of, like, I've enjoyed the Puerto Rico life for like 4 years, but it does have a residency requirement. You do have to be here 183 days. And
that's a lot.
St. Kitts and Nevis, and I like living in hotels. I actually enjoy that. So St. Kitts and Nevis doesn't have a residency requirement, so I may be going through that process. And I'll tell you, it's a struggle psychologically, because I have been building my business credit and personal credit history since I was 14 or 15 years old. And so if I do renounce and go through this path, I'm like, okay, well, so much for credit knowledge, like, because I'll suddenly become a international, or actually I'll be a Keynesian, I think they would call it. So I'm going through this right now in my own algorithm, saying, okay, what is it worth to be in a super credit centric, debt leverage, money is floating everywhere because they're just ledger entries in the United States, even though it's hyperinflating, superinflating, hyperinflating economy.
Mm.
So I'm kind of going through these same things myself to figure out what's the value of my credit access.
Yeah, I am so naive and so young, and I have so many things that I need to learn. And it's absolutely awesome. Well, it's fun, I guess, but it's something to do. But geez, gosh, they don't teach you anything. They don't tell you even what to look at. That's the problem. I wish somebody would have at least told me what to look at, the right thing, when I was young. And I was like, why do I suck at school? Why can't I focus? Why can't I do anything? I was literally in sped classes when I was in elementary school with like 3 or 4 kids. It was just like totally isolated from the whole entire school for like education and learning problems. It was because I literally was just like, I can't sit here. And you guys can obviously see the way I am, like jumpy, like that's just me, right? And I just so it took me a long time to get over that narrative of like other people know things, and I had to get over that first, that like I can know things that other people don't know.
You want me to tell you a story of my first hack, my first credit hack? I'll tell you the story.
Yeah,
My dad was a dick. My dad was not the nicest and most loving guy, but he was very like financial savvy, and he was a lawyer. Which again, no kudos to lawyers, but he's a lawyer. And I remember being 13. I think I was 13. I think so. In Louisiana at the time, you were considered an adult at 14 because you could open a bank account at 14, and you could get a driver's license at 14 back in the day. Now I think it might have moved to 16. But anyways, so at 13, he told me, hey, I want you to dig this hole, which ended up being a swimming pool hole. He said, I want you to dig it with a shovel. So I had to dig like for 6 months, this big fucking hole. And at the end of it, he told me he's going to give me $1,000. I was going to earn $1,000 instead of him getting a backhoe. He's just going to like manually labor me for like 6 months. And so I did that. And at the end of it, I was turning 14, gave me $1,000. But he said, I'll give it to you like on Monday or whatever. Then on Monday, he said, you're not going to go to school. Today, we're going to go to the bank. Instead of going to school, he took me to the first bank, which was a national chain. And he went in with me and he said, my son has turned 14. He wants to get a savings account. He's got $1,000. Here's the $1,000. And he put the $1,000 in that I had earned, right? Instead of me doing other stuff after school, I was digging a hole. Instead of me having weekends, I was digging a hole, right? With a shovel and wheelbarrow. Anyway, then he put the $1,000 in, and then immediately after the $1,000 was as a new bank account for me in my own name without any cosigner, he said he wants to take out a loan for $1,000. You have the cash in the savings account that's now locked because they locked it. It gave me $1,000 loan against the security of the collateral of cash. What's the interest rate if they already hold the money? Very low, right? It's not titled to a car I'm driving away. It's not a mortgage on something that's not within the bank's control. They have to go through a whole repossession process. It's cash inside their ledger, and they gave me $1,000 cash. I don't know what the interest rate was. Maybe it was like 4%, something like that, something cheap. And he said that, and they said that I had to pay it back over the next 12 months. So it was broken up over 12 payments for the next coming 20. It was a secured loan against cash. So that took maybe an hour for that process. And then we got in the car and he took me to a different bank, not a different branch, but a different bank institution altogether. I walked into the bank and he said, my son is 14 years old. He's got $1,000. He wants to open a savings account. He wants to get a loan against this $1,000. We left with $1,000 and went to the third bank. And one day he opened 5 bank accounts with me, right? That was $1,000 daisy chained through 5 different national banks on a secured collateralized loan. And now I have debt I've got $5,000 worth of debt because it's 5 different banks at $1,000. But at the end of that daisy chain, what did I have in my hand? Well, the last bank gave me $1,000 in a loan. So I had some starting principal to start paying back the loans through the daisy chain of the 5 banks. And the interest rate was really, really low. And basically the net effect, oh, and as the capital was being paid back across those 5 banks, as I made a payment each month, it was releasing some of that cash that was locked up so that I could pull it out and pay the loans, right? So as it was becoming available to me because it was being paid down, I could pull some out to just pay the loans. At the end of 12 months, by the time I turned 15, I'd paid off 5 different banks, national banks, that had a new credit report. After you have 6 months worth of payments on something, typically it's when you start to get credit report on loans. So by the 7th month, I started to have a credit report. And I had, I think my net cost was somewhere around $150 in interest over the course of all 5 loans after a year. So I basically paid like $150 total to have credit as a 15-year-old. You can do the same thing right now. You could do it now. You could say, hey, I have no credit history. I have a 500 or 600 because I have no history whatsoever. I'm just going to earn $1,000 and start that trend, that trended data point of your start in, them understanding that you pay back your bills, you pay off your debts, right? There's other systems you can do right now that will do it against your rent. Like you're already paying rent and they'll start to give you a credit history because you've been paying rent to your landlord. There's other systems you can do where your utility bill, that you're already going to have to pay, you should pay it with a credit card, and then that starts to give you a credit history instead of just paying it directly from your ACH or from your bank account to pay off your electric bill. Pay it with your credit card, and then you start to get credit history because you've been paying your credit card, right? So there's stuff like that you can learn, and this is some of the systems that give you an 800 score.
And theoretically, the bank shouldn't even care because it's risk-free money for them.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they sort of suspect that you're gaming the system to try and build your credit score, they're financially benefiting from you doing that.
They're gaming it harder.
Yeah,
they have the cash in the bank.
They've got zero risk,
right?
And they just make the interest zero risk,
which seems illegal.
No,
it's not because they have the cash in hand. It's just the source of cash isn't because I dug this on the second bank, wasn't because I dug the hole.
Right.
The second bank was because I took a loan from the first bank.
Right. Oh my God. Right. If this the daisy chain.
Right.
That's great. I mean, this is really stuff that guys like me, I'm sorry. I've been searching the internet for years, in the last year and a half, probably more so finance. It's hard to find good information that's specific to one thing. Once I found Hex, it was kind of hard to focus on anything else because I needed to learn. Like I was like, oh shit, I need to learn this now. Like yesterday. I
think having an expert that you can ask questions to is far superior than trying to search the internet for the answer to your question.
Well, that's what I created. That's all this is. That's all this is. Everyone, what do I want out of this? What do I want? I want people to come on here and talk to me so I can know
create interesting dialogues that people can learn and enjoy.
Unlike everyone else in crypto that acts like they know everything, they don't. They're all lying. I'm not saying all of them. Of course, there's a couple experts in there. Like experts, people that are really into this stuff, doing things for the right reasons. 90% of them are furus that have some incentive other than just being the best person they can be and running the best business they can personally. And that's okay too. That's one thing that I have to realize is okay as well. Like no one has to do it like me, but I'm going to provide what I think is way, 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 way more valuable, a real person learning in real time that is asking questions that everyone has and no one wants to ask, because I just don't care about people thinking I'm stupid, because I got over that a long time ago. I didn't give a fuck. It's just like, oh, I'm stupid. Okay, cool. Like I'm doing fantastic. I'm learning about finance. Like now I've convinced myself like, okay, you are doing the right thing. And I'm at that point where it's like, now I just want to show people it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to not be the smartest dude in the room. Like I'm just a young dude. Like I don't care. Like I don't care to be the smartest dude in the room. That's not, why would I even try to do that? But that's what most people do. They try to regurgitate someone else's video that's a little bit worse than theirs, because the person who originally did it actually knew what he was talking about. And the second person kind of just mocked it and wrote, "Is Hex a scam?" at the bottom. And it's just like, and that's the difference between good content and bad content, right? What are you providing? Are you providing someone with anything? Or are you just there to blow wind and hope plebs stick on? It's just like, I want people that want to interact with me and just, I want to learn. And if this is all working out like I think it will in the future, like we're all going to need each other in a way, emotionally, at least because I can't talk to too many people out there yet. I haven't figured out how to like network in reality with people that I'm like-minded with, but I have learned on the internet, like Sam, everyone. Like I've never met Sam, but he's been my life coach for 8 years, 6 years.
That's really cool.
And yeah, and now he's doing this journey with me, and it's crazy. Like it's fucking crazy. You have no idea. And it's just coming full circle. And I need him just as much as he needed me to tell him that. Like I needed him just as much to know, because I needed someone on my team that could help me. I don't learn as good as he does. So it was just like all day long. My intentions were never to make money, or you got to start somewhere. Like what FUNDINGGYM said, he's been doing this shit for 30 years. It's like, what would I be if I just came on here and was like, yeah, I got in day 105. I have a big fat bag. I'm not going to talk much about it, and I'm going to act like I'm smarter than everyone. It's just like, just be honest, and people will be like, cool, that's fucking dope. Like people think I'm going to be successful because I be honest. It's like weird. It's like people just are so afraid to just say the truth about where they're at.
You know what?
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've got a super quick question for FUNDINGGYM.
Mm-hmm.
How long, if ever, did it take for you for the novelty of flying in a private jet to wear off? Or is it still incredible?
Oh, it's awesome.
Like, it's still a special experience every time?
It's the people you're with. I mean, I was in a dirt hole in Saudi Arabia, and I remember the experience with the people more than the environment. It's the same thing with the private jet.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So the private jet allows you to curate exactly who you want to be there and have a private setting for that flight so that you can enjoy it with the people you want to.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes conversation. It's less stress, it's less anxiety and things like that. You know, logistically, it's nice. But I like people that have planes if they're not like divas or something. I mean, it really depends on the personality you're with. Like if you're with someone that's just like chill about the fact that they have a plane, it's really cool. Like, oh yeah, it's nice.
Actually, one more quick question, follow-up question. Are there legal benefits to the process of, so other than the fact that you don't have to like wait in lines to check in and shit like that, is there like less stringent security, not to do anything illegal, just in terms of just the flow, like, or is the security taken just as seriously if you own your own plane as if you're getting on a commercial one?
It's not taking us.
Yeah,
There's no
Alice
security.
can probably comment. There's no security.
There's no security.
You just roll in.
No security.
You roll
There's
in.
no
You
security.
roll in and you get on the plane. That's it. Like,
Tangent, are you the only one in here that hasn't been on a private jet? Tangent,
Sorry?
I've been on
one
one.
that hasn't been on a private jet.
Yeah,
Have you guys all
believe
been
in
on
it.
private jets?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we're
I-
Yeah,
because
I've
my
never
friend
been
my
on a private
best
jet.
friend's dad had a private jet. So he
Damn.
brought me to the Masters. Well, I don't know if it was his or his company's, but he brought me to the Masters. He brought me to like Florida a million times. Like he would just, and we would throw our luggage into the back. I was a pot smoker. They just chucked the shit in the bag. Because he would have asked me if it was a big deal, right? He would have said, Scott, make sure you don't have weed or anything.
Yeah. If he was, if he was gonna get slammed for that, he'd be like, guys, by the way, don't have like.
I learned at a
shit.
young age that you could smoke cigarettes in a private jet. Like it's no issue. Like
I mean, yeah, it's your plane, right? Like,
I know. That's what.
how about you, Crypto Stylist? How did you end up on one?
How did I end up on one? My
she's
friend
got
was going
connections.
to. She was going to a Chanel dinner in Las Vegas. And so I got to go as her guest. So I got to go on these jets. There was a whole fleet of jets, all had the Chanel logo on them. It was unbelievable.
Whoa.
Everything was branded. It was so fun, but it was
corporate branded jets.
Yeah, it was kind of unreal. But the thing I did not like about it it was really windy. And I mean, literally there were girls on my jet that were crying because they thought we were going to die. It's very unstable and it moves around and they're like taking their Xanax. And I'm like,
because it's smaller, or was it just bad weather? Like it might.
It was both. And it felt
Both.
so unstable and people were getting really upset because
Is it a little bit like,
we're going to die.
is it a little bit like a boat where because it's smaller, it can get knocked around more?
Exactly. So, but I figured if I died, dying on a Chanel private jet is probably not a bad way to
that's
go.
not a bad way to go out.
Not a bad way to go
Jim.
out. So.
Funding Jim, do you have anything fancy on the tail of yours? Have you like branded it with your name or
I
company
don't.
name? Or...
I have friends that have jets, but I don't own my own jet. I actually thought about
sorry,
one this
man.
year.
I just assumed you had a jet. I think I saw a couple of pictures or something, and I just assumed you had a jet.
that was so one of my friends lives in Puerto Rico also, and he's very successful, and he's helping us also with the Hex Investment Trust.
Cool.
When you saw the German guys, Austrian guys at the jet thing, that was my friend. That was his.
Well,
friend.
you know, there's a saying about boats that might apply to jets, and it says the best boat you can have is a friend's boat. Like it's the best thing is for your friend to have the boat. So
it's probably normal that people also use a private jet like with a group or like their company.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Not just
so
like
the origin
dude that just is like I'm swinging $100 billion for a jet.
On my channel, there's a video that's me interviewing Tom. Tom is my friend's private jet pilot. He's been my neighbor for like 3 years. So like we've been friends for a long time. I actually told him about Hex maybe when it was 2019. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get into that. I got some Ethereum, blah, blah, blah. Cause his boss pays him, his employer pays him. And then, he's around crypto, but not like super deep into crypto. And I remember in 2019, like sitting up on the top of the property we're at and talking about Hex. And then like 6 months later, or maybe a year later, he's like, man, Hex has really done amazing. Like, I wish I'd gotten in. I was like, I know, I told you like 1,000 times to do it. And then he's like, what? And then he's like, what's this pulse chain thing? And I said, you should get in that. Definitely get in that.
Get in.
Like $100,000. I think he put like $100,000 into that. And then he introduced me to his boss, and then his boss now has been helping us a lot with the Hex Investment Trust.
So do you think the reason he dropped 100K into Pulse was because he wanted to make up for his potentially missed theoretical gains from Hex?
Yeah, I mean, he got both later. I mean, he just got later in the position, but he put $100,000 also into Pulse Chain.
Everyone's loving the stream, guys. Everything you guys. I'm gonna let you go right after. I just want to say thank you to Bob. Bob's running through here and time stamping my stuff for me. I never asked him to, never even talked to him. What a G unit, Bob Lagai. All right, you can go style.
How's the like count going?
Oh, it's way over 100. I don't even know.
Whoa.
Okay. Wait, excuse me for 1 second. I have a delivery. Just 1 second, okay?
I
also need to get
my
phone.
so polite. Look at her meme. I love how that's her meme. What a good life, Funding Gym. So fun to learn and just do more stuff.
Yeah, I really like CryptoStylist points of view, and I remember meeting her at the London thing. It was really cool. She's been a good friend. When we met again, I think in like Italy a couple months ago.
Wow, I can't imagine traveling all around. That'll be interesting when I start doing that in my life. I can't wait. I mean, I do for surfing trips, but they're like, backpack fucking like.
It's awesome though.
So
you gotta. I mean, again, you're living the life that you want to live. Like we all have aspirations to change in some ways, like little pivots or whatever. And you'll pivot as well. Sometime in the future, you'll be doing different things than you're doing right now. But like you're being smart about like your house hacking element and about dedicating yourself to a talent. Some people they become rock stars. How do you think they became rock stars? They were obsessed about some particular thing that led them to being a rock star. Or someone's a designer, or someone's an architect. I mean, you have to be obsessed about something, and you just choose your path and gives you the most fulfillment.
Yeah,
I think Genrat Crypto. I think that I disagree with you. I think that you are the smartest guy in the room, and being good in school doesn't mean shit. So most of the kids who are like not good in school are the ones who are like ruling the world right now. And I think that where I see your intelligence is your instinct for people. Because you make a beeline to people who are really smart who are really the best in class at what they do, and you gather them all around and you're like, okay, cool, teach me. And you have no ego in it. So I actually think you are the smartest guy in the room. That's just my 2 cents.
That was
Awesome.
so sweet. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I have a knack for. I bring people together. I'm great at marketing, and it is just reading people. I had to read people my whole life. That's all I did. I never had a computer. I was never online. I was never marketing. I was on feet. I was on feet trying to make shit work. And I was a little kid, like 120 pounds, 5'8", college. Like no one gave a fuck about me ever. And, you know, I don't want to say like my family and stuff, of course, but, you know, as a young man, it's just to get to this point already, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like people just don't know how to be grateful because their lives haven't sucked enough. But like, if you just could only know how amazing it is just to chill at your computer and be able to drink coffee when you wake up and not rush to work at 4 in the fucking morning. I still wake up at 4 in the morning, but I can just sit in my office, you know, like I can just chill here. That's my favorite time of the day. I go to bed excited about waking up.
You curated your life. You did exactly what you wanted. It's a blank canvas and you painted it in the exact colors and the shapes and the textures that you wanted. And most people don't do that. They're like, my painting is fucking ugly and I don't like it. Well, then get a new canvas and paint something else. You know, that's really what it's about, because our time on this planet is so short. So, I mean, I don't really understand people who just stay in unhappy situations and fucking get happy. Change it, you know? So I admire you greatly.
Thank you. My family taught me. They taught me how to not work for anyone. They said that my dad, he didn't tell me directly, like I don't think he ever said it, but through his actions, he said that working for other people is not what you want to do. You know, and my brother and my sister and everyone in my family, nobody works for anyone because we're almost like they just trained us to have value in ourselves. And because I had no ego investment in the school, you know how many people go through school and then they have some ego investment about it, and then I meet them 10 years later and they're like, I went to this school. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Like, you can literally fuck off with that shit because that means nothing to me. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't mean something to someone, but I'm like, you're talking to me. I don't know about that stuff. And I think that's another big point as well, that I skipped the schooling system. I never did schooling like that. I just didn't pay attention. I passed high school and stuff, but I never studied. I never looked into anything. I never read anything. I was in the principal's office all the time. I was doing drugs all the time. But at the same time, I was learning how to deal and survive while doing nothing, which was like I was learning almost how to be efficient. It's weird. It's like I was not doing any work, but I was passing school, and I had a social life, and I had a girlfriend, and like I was just like doing what I wanted. Just like it just felt like what I wanted, but back then I was not allowed. How did you guys kind of individualize yourselves? As far as I know, you obviously had some sort of role models as you grow up, and you have to like detach from them at some point, right? Because they obviously don't want you doing exactly what you ended up doing. Like I'm sure when I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it was really hard for me to like detach myself from like what my family thought the right way to do things was.
Well, I didn't have to individualize myself because I was the only Asian in a small town in Alabama. So that kind of worked itself out for me.
That's crazy.
Everyone thought I was Chinese and everyone thought that Bruce Lee was my cousin. It was like a joke.
Oh, so that was stressful. So maybe that's what gave you a lot of your resilience. It seems like you had.
So it was, you know, I actually liked the South. It wasn't a bad experience, but I was different already. So it didn't have to work at trying to be different. I was actually trying to be normal. I tried to fit in, but you know, you look different. And so just got to deal with that. But it wasn't a bad experience. So
did you ever have trouble like finding your own way as far as like, I don't know what you do exactly. Obviously it's something that's a little more entrepreneurial. Seems like. Was it hard finding your way to that space, or did you kind of just know that was the right way to go as far as I don't know what you do, but like as far as doing what you love, it seems like you did.
Well, for Koreans, especially like my parents' generation, their kids have 2 choices: to be a doctor or to be a lawyer, right? Like that's it. There's no other alternative, or you're a disgrace to the family, right? So I actually did go to law school and whatever, and I did practice for like a hot minute, but I was terrible at it. So I quit. and I went into fashion, and my parents wanted to disown me. They were just like beside themselves. Like, what do I tell my friends? And, you know, what are you going to tell your friends? This is so crazy. You want to like quit and not be a lawyer to be a shop girl? Cause I opened my own store. Anyway. So, I mean, that was a really huge challenge. It was a big turning point in my life. But like you, I'm like, well, I'm not happy practicing law. You know, and this is terrible. This is just not who I am. And I'm not even good at it. And I'm probably going to get sued if I keep doing it, because I was like the worst lawyer ever. So I just, I followed what I wanted to do. And I really I work in fashion, and I'm on the buying side. And I'm really, I love product and trends and things like that. So it's kind of a dream job.
Now, Tangent, and I know FUNDINGGYM, clearly you do exactly what you like, designed your business and have it. Tangent, you probably don't want to talk about your shit, but do you have your life in the way that like you feel like you would want to live similarly moving forward? You know, like as far as like, do you have any big thing in your life where it's like, this fucking sucks and I hate it? I mean, obviously work has its troubles for everyone, but you know, in general.
So I like in relation to what CryptoStylist was just talking about. I never copped any pressure from my parents to follow a specific career path, but my sister got pressured to be a lawyer. So I guess because she was older, she was the oldest or whatever. So she copped that, and then I could just basically do what I want. I became an engineer, did that for a while, and then eventually went full-time crypto. So now I still work, but because I'm so passionate about crypto, it doesn't seem like work to me. So it's a weird mix where I have to explain to people that I'm like I don't work anymore by the traditional meaning, but I still do shit. Like I still spend time doing shit in crypto. Like I put work in, but it's just so enjoyable that it doesn't like it's not work.
No,
it's
yeah, no, that's
like
exactly how I
love.
feel. That's exactly how I feel. I couldn't feel any different when I wake up. If I was waking up before I ever quit my job, I'd be doing the same thing. If I didn't have to work, I would just be doing this.
And you know what? I never realized how much I didn't want to do my job, because I was quite good at it. I'm good at maths and science and that sort of thing. So being an engineer really suited my skill set. And it wasn't until a transitional period where I really backed off on how much work I was doing and did like almost like a bit of a trial run in sort of scaling my workload back. And I found that when I had these reasonable gaps, like say a few weeks where I wasn't doing any engineering work, when I would come back to it, I would sit down to start and I would just be like, man, F this. Like it was torture. But whereas previously for years and years and years, it never felt like that. I just did it and didn't, you know what I mean? Like there was no internal complaint when I was doing it was exactly the same work. But once I got that taste of spending the majority of my time in crypto, going back to it was horrific.
I just felt like the reason I quit my job is because I started to feel like my hours were less valuable. Like I felt like I could have more exponential value spending the hours I was at work just staring at the computer. I had no time on the computer in my life, none. Like I never was clicking through. I'm just literally asking people, not anymore. Like I'm 30 days in, so I can do all the normal shit. But like just asking people how to screenshot shit, I didn't know anything. It was like fucking in a million stuff. And then everyone's like, you got hacked, and I'm supposed to have some ego investment. Like I give a fuck. Like I didn't know one thing about the computer. Like I didn't even know how to fucking do shit. I'm like, oh, I got hacked. Like makes sense to me. And I'm not saying that I couldn't have been more proactive, but I was a noob admitting he was a noob and was like displaying noob characteristics. Like it wasn't.
Man, I love that.
That's going to be a good story. I mean, you're going to look back and, you know, don't ever look at the dollar value again, but just like, remember that time I got hacked? Remember that time I sent, beat Bitcoin to the wrong address? Remember that time? We all have that stuff, man.
That's what I'm saying. And I knew it right away. I knew this is why people learn. This is why people change, because they get a shot to the belly, you know? And it just is what it is. Yeah. Everyone has the story. I've been listening to this shit every day for fucking years. And everyone has, oh, I got wrecked. Richard was crying on stream. Bitcoin got wrecked, blah, blah, blah. Everyone has the story, right? sometimes it's just a bad trade. Sometimes it's like a dude comes in your house and beats you half to death and steals your shit. Like, it could be anything.
I love that response, man. That makes sense. yeah, that makes sense that I got hacked.
That was good. That should be a little soundbite. That was a good one.
Literally, when
Yeah,
I
of
click
course
down
makes
to it,
sense.
I'm just like, how is this not gone already? Like, because, there was stuff that was compromised, but it was a wallet that I kind of intuitively understood that it was compromised, but I just didn't have enough mental wherewithal to care, if that makes sense. So it's really, that's when I dove in. That's when I said, okay, I'm going both feet straight in. Like, no, and I quit my job. I was like, fuck this, quit my job, and I've been sitting here ever since.
Do you perceive that if you had been full-time crypto, that then you wouldn't have got hacked because you would have been allocating
I
the
wouldn't have wanted
correct
to be
amount?
full-time crypto until I wanted the passion. The passion is sparked by the negative feeling. And that's when you get the kinetic energy to move forward. Like when someone breaks up with you and then you hit the gym real hard, it's the same thing. It's like when I remember back when I was young, a girl would dump me and I was like 15 pounds of muscle slapped on my body in like 3 months because I was hitting the weight so hard. Like it just ignited. I always get ignited by negative stuff. And it just, I just quadruple down, like right there and then. And everyone noticed it right away. I mean, other than the 500 people that thought I was lying and still think I'm lying about that. And it wasn't even that
Richard
much
said something similar?
Huh?
Hasn't Richard said something similar to that, where he says he's at his best performance when everything's going wrong? Yeah,
there's no one that can beat me when something's going wrong. There's no one. When something's going wrong, I go 100%. There's no one calling. There's no one's walking through my door and saying anything to me. No, 0% chance. This is what one life. And I just always have felt that way. I'm like, I got one shot at this shit. You guys can all fuck the fuck off. If you want to slow me down, get out.
Bro, did you notice did you realize that earlier in this stream, you censored the non-swear word in a sentence where you're like, yeah, man, they were S-ing each other's dicks. Like he was talking about a conversation, by the way, not in the literal sense. It was something between, oh, you're muted, bro.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds about right. I always say S. I always have like these words I say. But what do you think about Sam, guys? That was pretty crazy, right, man? Sam is a fucking nutcase.
Yeah, impressive.
He's crazy, dude, and he does not see people's feelings. Like when I say that, he's very nice to everyone, but like emotional stuff that never enters his bubble. It's like he couldn't even ponder on why he would even waste his energy on something that was stupid. He's like, I got stuff to do. Like I have stuff to do. Like I want to move forward. I'm ready. But that's also like a young man's mindset, a young woman's mindset, single, like he's not single, but he's not have kids and stuff. Anyway, I could ramble on all day long. Guys, I'm going to end the stream here. Do you guys want to shill anything or talk to anything? I
want to say hi to Rags to Riches. He's here. Hi.
What's up, Raggy, bro?
Yeah, that's how I found you, Jim Rat Crypto, because I saw you on his stream. Oh my God.
That's my second stream.
It was fun. That was a fun stream to watch.
That was a fun stream. Everyone follow KORYPTOSTYLIST, KORYPTO Stylist on YouTube and Twitter, and you can throw that link below if you want people to be able to click on it easier. What about you, Tangent? What have you got?
Is the extra O in the handle is meant because you're in Korea? Is it like
well, because I'm Korean. Yeah, because I'm Korean.
Cool, very cool. So normally I choke on the shout out, and I can't think of anything really worth saying. Like when we do because I stream on the Australian Hexagon show on Discourse Syndicate. It's called The Late Show, and for us it's Tuesday night. I think in America it must be the following morning or something, I can't remember, but it's on Tuesday nights. That's a show that's worth watching. We have some fun. And I normally choke when they do the let's go around at the end and either shill or say goodbyes or just shout something out. But today I actually have something to say. Shout out the total crypto market cap hit 2 trillion while we were on stream. And it's actually come back a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, rounding error, we are at 2 trillion. So, and Hex, in particular is doing very well at over 15 cents now. So I'm bullish, and I'm stoked that everything's looking positive and prices are going up, and the cap is showing that crypto sentiment as a whole is positive. It's a good time to be in crypto.
Clip that, guys. Clip that, and make sure he regrets those words if it goes back down. Make sure that he hurts. Make sure you never watch this shit again. Okay, that's called bad juju where I'm from. Bad juju. Anyway, what about you, Funding Jim? You got anything you want to mention? Anything?
Yeah. So as you go through this journey of being a content creator, as being a good host, like Hex Orca, I think he does great with his Twitter Spaces. Amazing. You do the same sort of thing. I hear you participant in the Twitter stuff, things like that. Start to figure out your, if you are going full time crypto, and this is really your passion, your curiosity, I encourage that. The most interesting and I guess best performing things in my life has been because I was most curious about it. Like I was started out as a farmer, and I wasn't curious about that anymore at 15, and I wanted to see the world. And then I was curious about medicine for a long time, and curious about computers for a long time. So just always feed your curiosity is kind of my thing. And things will tend to work out well financially, or at least give you fulfillment in life. I was putting in the private chat to start doing your AdSense. Set that up if you don't have that set up already.
I'm gonna
Set
look
up your
into this.
yeah, get your 4,000 hours of viewing.
I'm very close on that. I'm like 2 streams away.
Yeah, as long as this counts, like live stream counts as toward the 4,000 hours on your meter. Cool.
Yes, it does. It shows that. Yes.
Great. So I mean, again, we want to support you. We want to support people's journey, and things like that. And having super chat available and things like that is, for a business to support you, is easier through super chat. I know everybody likes to put their Ethereum address or their Pulse chain address and things like that, and they'll do that in the future. But I still, as a business, like to support people through these provable transfers of money.
I want to earn that 1,000. I want to earn it.
Yeah. So do that.
I want to earn it.
Absolutely.
With the links.
I'm the fast. I think I might be the fastest to 1,000 in Hex history.
You must be racking up the hours heaps with the length.
I don't know. K for K.
Good for you. Good for you.
K for K, as far as the exploding long term, his shit is amazing. I mean, his shit is amazing. I tell people, if you're gonna follow one channel, go to his channel, hit subscribe, and go to mine and press unsubscribe.
Give me the
like between the two of us. Like, I'm here for a resource for more intermediate, like people that want to talk stuff out, and but he's like, okay, this is the information, and it's easy to digest.
So your elevator pitch of why his channel is so amazing is efficient delivery of critical information.
Like, if we were in an emergency, you would need to watch K for K, not me ranting about my mom not liking Joe Rogan.
He does the research. He does the research, and he figures it out before anyone else, and he shares it immediately. So it's like you find out, because he actually literally studies for a long time, and then he figures it out, and then he'll share it. Like the whole buy and burn, he really was revelatory in sharing with the community what that actually meant. And then all of a sudden, the whole narrative around PulseX shifted, literally because of his video.
But crazy. He dives in to get the info before.
Yeah, he figures it out. He does calculations,
he's like, this is happening because I saw this code change, blah, 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 all that stuff. But guys, this has been absolutely incredible. I felt dopaminergic rush 2 or 3 times throughout the conversations. And this is what it's all about to me. I want to make this life whatever I want to make it. I don't care what anyone says about what I'm doing. Obviously, YouTube has censorship that we want to deal with, but YouTube, we love you. And everyone, GRC, I'm here 11 a.m. every single day. Hex in the morning, I'm covering anything as it happens right then. I'm getting the guys on, If something's going down, let's just square it out. None of this fluff, none of this bullshit. You guys know it's bullshit. All the bullshit. You know exactly what I'm fucking talking about. I'm not going to mention anything in particular. It's bullshit. Let's talk about real shit. Boom, I'm out.